What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10 of Chapter 151 Unexpected Rescue, Bai Ye arrives. Advertise here. Tashi seized this opportunity, and while Sasaki was still confused, he struck back and cut Sasaki's palm holding Xiaoyi Shiger open. Sasaki felt pain and subconsciously let go of Xiaoyi Shiger. At this time, Sasaki's strength is almost non-existent, and this is the best time for Daisuke to take action. Kill Shiger. Xiaoyi Shiger was wrapped with jet black armed haki, and she struck at Sasaki with lightning speed. Sasaki instantly became panicked and shouted, "Pegman, Mr. Quinn, hurry up and save me." Quinn and Peggy Wan's expressions changed. They didn't expect things to develop like this. Originally, Sasaki could easily defeat the opponent, but in just a few seconds, the situation between the two sides changed drastically. If Sasaki really died at the hands of the other party, it would be difficult for Quinn to explain to Kaido. However, just when they were about to take action, Xiaoyi Shiger, covered in armed domineering aura, had already scratched Sasaki's neck. Daisuke's attack was very decisive, and her attack was a killer move. I saw a head rising directly into the sky. Sasaki's appearance returned to normal. But there was extremely strong unwillingness, resentment and doubt on his face. As Sasaki's body crashed to the ground, Quinn and Peggy stopped in their tracks and froze on the spot. Sasaki is dead, killed by these two female marines in front of both of them. If this matter spreads out, how will the two of them get along with other people in the Beast Pirates in the future? People who don't know would think that the two of them watched Sasaki being killed by Marine on purpose. Moreover, Quinn volunteered to apply to Kaido for hunting down the female Marine this time. I thought that with the strength of the three of them, they could definitely take down Marine easily. But without thinking, Sasaki was folded in. Quinn's status in Kaido's heart will definitely decline significantly. You must know that when Marine General Akainu attacked them hard last time, among their senior cadres, they only lost 2 members of the 6th Flying Cell. Now just dealing with 2 female Marines who are not outstanding in strength, they have lost Sasaki, one of the Flying 6 Cells. How do they accept this? How does Kaido accept this? At this time, Quinn was so furious that he had already forgotten Kaido's order before leaving to capture Marine alive. Quinn shouted loudly, releasing a heart-stopping murderous intent from all over his body, and walked towards Ain and Daisuke with a fierce look in his eyes. You may not know my methods, and that's okay. Anyway, you will be able to understand the truth later. Sometimes death is happier than living. Quote. Quinn has a cruel smile on his face. He has countless ways to torture the captured enemies to death. Every time the enemy wailed in agony during execution, it was all extremely beautiful music to his ears. He enjoyed the execution, especially since the targets of this execution are 2 young, beautiful and powerful female Marines. This process must be very enjoyable. At this time, Ain had no physical strength at all because he had just exerted his fruit power with all his strength. His face was pale and his whole body was exhausted. If it weren't for Daisuke's support, he wouldn't even be able to stand still. And Daisuke's situation is not much better than Ain. The sword that killed Sasaki just now was also a huge burden for Daisuke. Although he still has some physical strength, it is completely useless in this situation. Faced with Quinn's pressing steps, the 2 women could only retreat again and again until their backs were against the trees. They had no way to retreat now. HMPH, let's see where you can run. Quinn reached out and grabbed the 2 women. A trace of despair flashed in the eyes of Ain and Daisuke. In this situation, perhaps committing suicide is the best choice. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared from behind the big tree behind the 2 of them and rushed toward Quinn. The dark fist hit Quinn hard on the face. The armed and domineering aura that only covered the wrist seemed to reveal the identity of the person coming. Quinn felt a sharp pain on his face, and his whole body shot out like a cannonball, breaking dozens of trees one after another and throwing up countless dust. You're still old. It seemed that he was not satisfied with the result of his punch, and the visitor said with emotion. Peggy Wan subconsciously made a defensive posture and unexpectedly said, "Former Marine General, Black Arm, Zephyr." Ain opened his eyes wide, looked at the very familiar back in front of him, and blurted out, "Teacher Zephyr." Instructor Zephyr. Zephyr turned around, touched Ain's head and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, isn't it surprising?" "It's not a surprise, it's quite a surprise." Ain's eyes turned into 2 crescent moons when he smiled, and his heart that had been hanging around suddenly settled down. With Teacher Zephyr here, they naturally no longer have to worry about falling into the hands of pirates and never seeing Byakuya again. Zephyr looked at the scene in front of him. "Daisuke, you did a good job. You were able to kill one of the Flying 6 Cells of the Beast Pirates. As expected of a student who came out of an elite training camp." Quote. Daisuke is only 1 year older than Ain, and is also a student taught by Zephyr. This kill was mainly due to Ain. If she hadn't used her fruit ability to weaken Sasaki, I wouldn't have been able to kill him so easily. Ain raised his delicate little face, looking like he was about to praise me. Okay, you are all good. Zephyr was amused by Ain's appearance. By the way, Teacher Zephyr, why are you here? It's not because of that phone call you made. Ain asked curiously. Me. Yes, Didn't you say that that boy Bai Ye is causing trouble in the New World and may be attacked by other forces? Let me advise Bai Ye to be careful. So I thought, since I haven't seen you for a long time, I might as well come directly to New World to meet you. Chat with Bai Ye by the way to see if he has a clear goal. As a result, I received a distress message from Marine just after passing through the Red Earth continent, so I rushed over to find out. Go to the island in the direction where you abandoned the ship. If you hear something moving here, go this way. I happened to see Quinn take action against you, so I took action to save you. Quote. After listening to Zepha's words, Aang couldn't help but feel grateful that he made that call. When Dasky abandoned the ship, he pressed the distress button in time. No matter which of these 2 points is missing, they may really die at the hands of Quinn today. By the way, how did you two end up being chased by Quinn? Aang and Dasky immediately woke up and said quickly, it's not Quinn who is chasing him, but the beast pirates. What's the meaning? 100 beasts Kaido and all the senior cadres of the entire group want to use us as bait to attract senior brother Byakuya. The beast pirates are the force that wants to harm Lord Byakuya. Zepha was surprised, you mean, Kaido is on this island? Well, it's just that they should be on the other side of the island, so teacher, you didn't meet them. Then does Bai Ye know about this? You should know, maybe you were on your way here. The situation is not good. With Byakuya's strength alone, it would be difficult for him to face Kaido. If we add those senior cadres who are not weak, it is estimated that Bai Ye is really in danger. Quote. With that said, Zepha turned to look at Peggy Wan and the somewhat embarrassed Quinn, and they must be dealt with as soon as possible. Then go help Bai Ye. However, on the outskirts of Wall Island, Kaido and others looked at the trees falling from time to time in the depths of the forest, as well as the ear-splitting roars they made. Didn't feel anything unusual. They all know Quinn's character. I guess Quinn is having fun teasing those Marines right now. In midair, Jin transformed into the form of a pterosaur, circling back and forth around the island, seemingly observing when the White Knight would come. With his super dynamic vision ability, Jin quickly locked onto a small black shadow not far away. I saw the black shadow rushing towards Wall Island very quickly. This must be the White Knight, right? After discovering Byakuya, Jin did not take action, but landed in front of Kaido. Boss, Bai Ye is here. Kaido, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground drinking, stood up and ordered, get everyone ready, the enemy is coming soon. Jack subconsciously touched his ivory that had not yet grown, and murmured to himself, finally, are we going to meet again? For some reason, Jack suddenly felt worried. According to his past character, this is completely impossible to happen. The remaining 4 people in Fei Lubao looked extremely excited. 2 fools, Peggyman and Sasaki, went to capture Marine. Who among the 4 of us left will kill Byakuya first? Anyone can have the opportunity to challenge the 3 major boards. Quote. I'm going to take this opportunity. Just watch, Bai Ye will definitely die in my hands. When the time comes, everyone will rely on their abilities and see who can strike faster. None of the 4 people were convinced by the other, and they shouted at each other. Kaido ordered Jin, this time Doflamingo broke the promise and didn't come on time. I don't know what happened. I'm afraid that guy is doing something to cause trouble for us behind our back. Therefore, you don't need to participate in this battle. Your mission is to find Caesar at the Marine G5 branch and bring him back to our territory. We must keep Caesar safe, he is very important to us. Quote. Jin nodded heavily and said, I understand, I'll rush there now. Because of the unknown factor Doflamingo, Jin did not waste time, flapped his wings and flew directly to the G5 branch. When Byakuya arrived at Wall Island, he immediately noticed the beast pirates on the coast. A sharp look flashed in Bai Ye's eyes, and he accelerated towards Kaido's location. And Kaido didn't expect that Byakuya would dare to rush directly towards him. Thinking about all the Marines in the past who were scared to death after seeing him. But this Bai Ye is so courageous. Kaido suddenly became interested, weighed the wine bottle weighing hundreds of kilograms in his hand, waved his arm, and threw it directly towards Bai Ye. With the help of Kaido's terrifying power, the nearly 10-meter-high wine bottle was so fast that it left only an afterimage in the air, making a whimpering sound. The other 4 members of Fei Lubao looked at the sky expectantly. You think Bai Ye won't be smashed to death by Boss Kaido with a bottle of wine, right? Probably not. If his strength is really that weak, how can he defeat Master Jack? Fei Lubao called Jack, Sir, but there was no respect in his tone, but a bit of ridicule. Since Jack was captured by Bai Ye, their attitude has changed from respect before to what it is now. Looking at the huge wine bottle thrown by Kaido, Bai Ye took out Feng Ming from his waist, and saw a flash of sword light, and the bottle was split into 2. Bai Ye hovered in front of Kaido, pointed his sword at Kaido, and said coldly, Where are my people? This is the first time Kaido has seen such an arrogant marine, daring to point a sword at him. Kaido pointed to the location of a large number of collapsed trees deep in the forest, and said with a strange smile, they must have been killed by Quinn. After hearing Kaido's words, Bai Ye's whole body exuded a devouring murderous intention. The strong killing intention almost condensed into substance, dyeing the entire sky blood red. Everyone felt a pricking sensation on their skin. Jack and Fei Lubao felt chills on their backs and thought to themselves, how many people had this guy killed before he had such a strong murderous intention? Even Kaido was shocked by the killing intent in Byakuya. Did this marine kill more people than me? Bai Ye's eyes were scarlet, and the white cloak of justice behind him seemed to be dyed blood with murderous intent at this moment, moving with the wind. If something happens to Ain and Dasky, I will definitely kill all of your beast pirates, leaving no one behind. Kaido's pupils shrank, and his expression was not as casual as before. The guy in front of him seemed to be in some trouble. If he is not killed here today, I am afraid this guy will really keep his word. With the strength Bai Ye has shown so far, as long as he doesn't encounter himself, no one in the beast pirates seems to be his opponent. Even Jin, who is the strongest besides Kaido, is not as good as him. However, before Kaido could reply, Kunmu, one of the flying six cells, couldn't help it anymore and transformed into a half-animal, half-human state at an extremely fast speed, stood up and attacked Bai Ye. The head resembled an alligator, and it opened its mouth to bite Bai Ye. The hundreds of sharp teeth were like daggers, shining with a cold light. As long as it is bitten, it is estimated that half of the body will be bitten to pieces. Kunmu thought very clearly before taking action. He was the last member to join the Fei Lubao, and his qualifications were very junior. If you don't do something to show off in front of Boss Kaido, it will be too difficult for you to climb up the ladder. And killing Bai Ye this time is an opportunity for him. Killing more people does not mean you are stronger. So he must seize this opportunity. But what Kunmu didn't expect was that in Kaido's eyes, he would be no different from a fool this time. Feng Ming in Bai Ye's hand seemed to be motionless, but in the blink of an eye he swung out a very powerful slash. Cut it off from Kunmu's waist, turning it into a half-animal, half-human state. The upper body and lower body were separated from the waist, and blood flowed all over the ground. Chapter 152 Bai Ye vs Kaido. Advertise here. Kunmu, he didn't even resist a single move. Moreover, Bai Ye's attack was so fast that they didn't even see Bai Ye draw his sword. Kunmu was cut into two sections at the waist, and his death should not be more miserable. The remaining three of the six Fei cells looked at Bai Ye with horrified faces, a trace of fear emerging in their eyes. Although Kunmu's strength is the weakest among the six Fei cells, since he can become one of them. The strength gap between them is not very big. Since Bai Ye can kill Kun Mu with one sword, it means that if they also fight Bai Ye in front of Bai Ye, he could be killed with one sword, and he could not survive two swords at most. Such a strong person is simply not something they can handle. Even the three major brands cannot be his opponent. This is truly the strength of a general. Only Boss Kaido can kill Bai Ye by taking action himself. Jack used his peripheral vision to see the frightened expressions of the remaining three people in the sixth Fei family, and curled his lips with a hint of disdain. Haha, are you afraid now? Do you really think Bai Ye is so easy to deal with? Just because you still want to kill Bai Ye to get a chance to challenge me. If you can kill Bai Ye, let alone want to become one of the three major signs. It is not impossible for you to even separate from the beast's pirates and establish a separate imperial pirates in the new world. Putting away his mind, Jack recalled the scene of Kun Mu being beheaded, and looked at Bai Ye with a bit of disbelief. This guy's strength seems to have improved tremendously in just a few months. How on earth did he do it? At this time, Kaido was also shocked by the strength displayed by Bai Ye. Of course, he didn't think he couldn't beat Bai Ye. But he didn't expect Bai Ye's strength to be so strong, even comparable to General Marine. If Caesar hadn't fallen into Byakuya's hands, Kaido would never have been willing to conflict with such a strong man easily. Before the fighting even started, one of our own high-ranking cadres had been lost. He lost blood at the beginning. However, in front of his subordinates, he still needs to do some superficial work. Kaido was furious and said, "You damn Marine, I want you to be buried with my men." Kaido stepped forward and rushed towards Bai Ye. Every step he took left huge footprints on the ground, causing Wall Island to tremble violently. Although Kaido is extremely large and looks bulky. But in fact, it was extremely fast and appeared in front of Bai Ye in the blink of an eye. Waving his fist, which was as big as a house, he hit Bai Ye hard. Before the fist came, the strong air flow carried by it made the cloak of justice that Bai Ye wore rustle. Kaido is not slow, Byakuya is faster. Instantly distanced himself and appeared at the rear left position. When Bai Ye raised Feng Ming and was about to slash at Kaido's arm, he suddenly noticed a proud smile on Kaido's lips. Could it be that? At the same time, Bai Ye released a crazy warning of hegemony, and an even more terrifying force struck from the back of Bai Ye's head. Thunder 8 trigrams. Kaido shouted loudly, and waved a giant mace more than 10 meters long with his other hand, which was wrapped with Conqueror's haki. Purple-black thunder and lightning spread wantonly around. Its hidden power caused ripples in the space, and it seemed that it could not withstand such power and was about to burst. Bai Ye cursed angrily in his heart. Damn it, you are so shameless, you actually want to hit lousy sap from behind. The armed domineering energy covered Feng Ming as if it were free of money, making the blade dark as if it could absorb all light. Bai Ye turned around in time, and at the moment when the mace struck, he placed Feng Ming in front of him to block the blow. Clang! The two forces collided together, making a deafening sound, and a very strong air wave suddenly began to spread in all directions. The trees on the periphery of the island were directly blown to pieces by the air waves, and their trunks, branches and leaves were flying all over the sky. Jack and others covered their ears and could only barely stabilize themselves under the impact of this air wave. Unexpectedly, in a battle of this level, they were not even qualified to watch it at close range. Could it be that Bai Ye is as strong as Lord Kaido? However, the shock in Kaido's heart was no less than that of Jack and others. Because when Bai Ye faced his sneak attack, not only was he not injured, his position did not even change. In other words, Bai Ye forcefully took his full blow and still had some energy left. Byakuya's strength far exceeded Kaido's expectations. Kaido withdrew the iron rod and stood aside, surprised. I didn't expect you, a Marine Lieutenant General, to be so strong. I even feel that Akainu, who I fought against some time ago, is not as strong as you. Marine is really unfathomable. Quote. Bai Ye stood with his sword in hand, silent. Facing Kaido's sudden sneak attack just now, he was so surprised that he subconsciously used all his strength. As a result, Kaido swung the club with all his strength, but he stood still and caught it steadily. This naturally made Kaido feel the unfathomable strength of Byakuya. In fact, Shiro Yoruichi has always controlled his combat power to be that of a senior general or a top general. This kind of strength is enough to cope with most situations. Even when encountering the four Emperor's pirates, he can still show enough fighting power. If it were any higher, it would easily arouse the suspicion of the Warring States period and the world government. Bai Ye is also preparing to become a Marine Admiral, or even a Marine Fleet Admiral, to control the entire Marine, in order to obtain a large amount of world power. It is impossible to expose all your strengths so easily. Looking at the silent White Knight, Kaido suddenly had the intention to quit. He felt that if the fight with Bai Ye continued, he might die here. Although he usually keeps shouting that the world is too boring and wants to commit suicide. But when Kaido really found out that he might die, he ran faster than anyone else. After all, if Kaido really wanted to die, he could just take another devil fruit. There is no need to shout that you want to die all day long and cry that you can't die. From Bai Ye's point of view, Kaido's behavior of seeking death is just another Versailles. Kaido considered the possibility of evacuation. With Jin's speed, he should have arrived at the G5 branch and rescued Caesar by now. The main mission of this operation has been completed. Even if it costs a senior cadre, it is not too much of a loss. Kaido ordered to Jack, go find Quinn in the forest and prepare to evacuate from here. Withdraw. Jack and the others were stunned for a moment. They did not expect that Kaido would give the order to evacuate. However, they were not stupid enough to ask questions at this time, but turned around and ran into the forest. It seems that Bai Ye's strength is really strong, which makes Boss Kaido feel a lot of pressure. Bai Ye looked at the four Jacks with sharp eyes. Want to run? None of you can even think of leaving here today. As he spoke, he swung out an extremely powerful slash, which was dozens of meters long like a waning moon falling from the sky, heading towards Jack and the others. Jack and others instantly became panicked. With their strength, they might not be able to block this blow. And at this critical moment, an iron rod covered with armed domineering force suddenly appeared from one side and stood in front of them. There was another shocking loud noise. Kaido held the mace and blocked the attack for Jack and the others. Even though it was covered with armed domineering energy, the iron rod still had a gash several meters deep from this slash, and was almost cut off directly. The force of the slash was so great that even Kaido felt his palms numb, and there was a faint tearing pain in the tiger's mouth. Kaido knew in his heart that if he didn't show his true strength today, even if he could leave, all of his subordinates might fall into Bai Ye's hands. Bai Ye, let me show you how powerful I am, who is known as the strongest creature. Kaido threw aside the damaged iron bar in his hand, and the several-ton iron bar fell to the ground, splashing countless dust. Byakuya knows that Kaido is planning to use the devil fruit's power. Fish fruit phantom beast species blue dragon form. It is said that this devil fruit was given to Kaido by Big Mom when the Rocks pirates disbanded. Such a powerful fruit can be given away by a woman like Big Mom. It is conceivable that the relationship between the two is definitely not pure. Kaido raised his head and let out bursts of dragon roars. His entire body quickly transformed into a long strip, with light blue dragon scales appearing on his body, which were extremely tough. Black hair fluttered on the dragon's spine, and four sharp dragon claws grew out of its soft belly, entwined with flames. In addition to the curved horns above the eyebrows, there are dragon horns similar to deer antlers on the head. The strong and powerful body of hundreds of meters is hovering back and forth in the air, which looks extremely shocking. This is completely different from what Momonosuke looked like after his transformation. The huge dragon head said to Bai Ye, you are one of the few people in the sea who can force me to use the fruit's power. Your horns are really nice. Bai Ye stared at the four horns on Kaido's head, with an eager look on his face. As early as when he cut off Jack's tusks, Bai Ye had thought that one day he would be able to cut off Kaido's dragon horns. See if you can blend into the roar of the wind. But I didn't expect this day to come so soon. Before the two sides could take action, they saw the four Jacks who had just run into the forest and retreated step by step. Kaido said angrily, what are you doing? Didn't I tell you to leave quickly? Jack pointed to the forest with an embarrassed look on his face, his expression extremely ugly. Kaido and Byakuya looked into the depths of the forest at the same time, and saw only 3 figures walking out of it. No, or it would be more accurate to say 5 figures. Just because 2 of them were picked out by the strong man who led them. When Bai Ye saw the person clearly, he was pleasantly surprised and said, "Teacher Zephyr." Then look at the 2 graceful figures behind. Ain Dasky, are you okay? Ain and Dasky felt sweet in their hearts as they watched and listened to Bai Ye's caring words. Senior brother Bai Ye, we are fine. Now Bai Ye was completely relieved. When he saw Teacher Zephyr appear, he roughly guessed that it was Ain and Dasky who were saved by Teacher Zephyr. When Kaido saw the 2 figures Zephyr was carrying, he felt irritated and became even more furious. Because those 2 figures were clearly Quinn and Peggy Wan who had entered the forest to look for Marine. As for Sasaki who didn't show up, he probably died in Marine's hands. Although Zephyr's strength has declined a lot due to his old age, at least he will still have the combat power of a junior general. It is not difficult to deal with Peggy Wan and Quinn, it just takes some time. Kaido did not expect that this operation would directly kill 2 senior cadres. 2 more cadres fell into Marine's hands, and one of them was even one of the 3 major signs. Such a huge loss, even if Caesar was really taken away, made Kaido feel deep pain. This makes Kaido not only hate Byakuya, but also resent Doflamingo. If Doflamingo hadn't accidentally sent Caesar into Bai Ye's hands, why did he need to lead his men to set up a trap to kill Bai Ye? In the end, Bai Ye didn't kill him, but he suffered heavy losses on his side. And Doflamingo agreed on the phone to go to Wall Island to kill Bai Ye. As a result, the White Knight arrived, but Doflamingo and his Don Quixote family did not appear. This deepened Kaido's resentment towards Doflamingo. After this incident is over, Kaido must go to the Drake Rosa Kingdom. Let Doflamingo understand what it will cost to deceive the strong. As for Byakuya, he is also on Kaido's revenge list. However, if Kaido knew that Doflamingo, whom he was thinking about at the moment, and the entire Don Quixote family would be pushed underground, the situation would be even worse than him. Will you feel better? After all, the Don Quixote family is facing real destruction. On Kaido's side, only 2 senior officials died. Although Kaido was angry at this time, he had not yet lost his mind. Originally facing a Bai Ye whose strength was unfathomable, he had the idea of retreating. Now coupled with the addition of Zephyr, a former marine general, Kaido has firmly decided to retreat. But before leaving, Kaido wanted to try to see if he could take Quinn and Peggy Wan away. Kaido's eyes were full of violence, and the flames entwined under the dragon's claws helped him quickly rise into the air, making a huge dragon roar. The entire sky was instantly filled with thunderclouds, and hundreds of dark purple thunder and lightning struck crazily towards Bai Ye and the others. Bai Ye and Zephyr guarded the 2 women, striking down the scattered thunder and lightning. These thunder and lightning looked extremely terrifying, but in front of Bai Ye and Zephyr, they were just like that. Of course, Kaido doesn't think that relying on thunder and lightning can deal with Byakuya and Zephyr, these are just appetizers. Swing the dragon's body, adjust the dragon's head to aim at Bai Ye and Zephyr, open the dragon's mouth and spit out the hot dragon's breath. Even if they are several miles apart, they can feel the terrifying power contained in the dragon's breath. Bai Ye stood up, swung a slash, split the extremely hot dragon's breath into 2, and attacked Kaido in the sky. The range of the dragon's breath sprayed from Kaido's mouth expanded a bit more, blocking Byakuya's slash halfway until it was completely offset. The fiery dragon's breath struck again, before Bai Ye could take action. The dragon's breath in Kaido's mouth instantly turned into bad wind, and a large number of wind blades similar to slashes were all integrated into the dragon's breath and sprayed towards Zephyr on the ground. The wind helps the fire, and the fire relies on the wind. When the 2 moves are combined together, the power instantly rises to a higher level. Bai Ye couldn't help but sigh, "My dear, is this fusion ninjutsu? Kaido shouldn't have been to the Hokage ninja to train, right? Facing the wind blades that tear everything apart and the dragon's breath that melts everything." Zephyr's expression changed, and he felt a strong sense of crisis. If he doesn't dodge, even with his strength, he will suffer serious injury or even death. Zephyr did not hesitate, dropped Quinn and Peggy Wan in his hands. Pulling up the panicked Ain and Dasky, they wanted to leave the area. However, due to the combination of wind and fire, the speed was extremely fast. Zephyr, Ain and Dasky had no way to escape from the attack range. Seeing this in midair, Bai Ye sighed helplessly and had to give up his plan to attack Kaido. Kaido's guy is really treacherous enough. He knew that he would definitely protect Zephyr and the others, so he didn't spray him. Bai Ye appeared in Zephyr's body, and the armed domineering energy contained in his body spurted out. A light red round shield is formed, isolating the wind blade and the dragon's breath from the round shield. Bai Ye could sense that the armed color hockey was being consumed rapidly. This is mainly because Kaido's attacks are indeed extremely powerful, but they are weaker than those of a general-level strongman. When facing this move, at least one person will end up seriously injured. Moreover, Bai Ye's armed color hockey has not reached the full level, and is still at level 8, which is slightly lower than the 4 Emperor's level experts. In addition, if you only rely on armed color and domineering for defense, you will indeed suffer a lot. There is nothing that can be done about it. The enemies Bai Ye usually faces are basically those who can kill him with just one sword. Armed hockey is just a good attack method for Bai Ye. It doesn't matter whether it rises or not. But if Bai Ye doesn't want to expose his true strength in front of others. Next, you can consider raising the levels of armed colored hockey and knowledge colored hockey. Although the level of armed domineering is slightly lower, Bai Ye's physical strength is first rate. There is also the passive skill of infinite recovery. Even if you let Kaido spray here for 3 days and 3 nights, Bai Ye can still afford to play with him. Of course, Kaido's purpose is not to spend time here with Byakuya. The huge dragon body swung in the air, and the dragon's tail swept down and directly rolled up the 4 jacks. The 2 claws on its lower abdomen grabbed the unconscious Quinn and Peggy Wan. As soon as the dragon's breath and the wind blade stopped, Kaido didn't give Byakuya a chance to take action, so he swung his dragon tail and fled in despair. Kaido escapes very quickly, and now that the 3 of Zephyr are here, Bai Ye can't catch up alone. I can only find another opportunity next time to cut off Kaido's dragon horns. This time, Ain and Dasky faced the attack of the beast pirates without incident, so they were considered safe. However, Bai Ye did not feel relieved immediately. This time Kaido and the beast pirates came out in full force. All the senior cadres were present, except for one of the 3 major signatures, Jin. And when Bai Ye rushed to Wall Island, he seemed to see a black shadow flying in the direction of the G5 branch. In order to avoid trouble in the future, Bai Ye hurried back to the branch at full speed after explaining clearly to Zephyr. G5 branch. A merchant ship docked at the shore, and a blind middle-aged man in purple got out. The boatman kindly reminded, the G5 branch is here, how about I take you to the main entrance? Thank you to the boatman for your kindness, I can go there by myself. Then be careful and don't fall. While the 2 were talking, the soldiers patrolling outside the base spotted them and stepped forward to inquire. What's the matter with you coming to the G5 branch? The boatman quickly said, this gentleman wants to come to the G5 branch to find someone. I just sent him here. The soldier glanced at the middle-aged man in purple and found that his eyes were tightly closed and there were 2 conspicuous scars on his eyelids. Clearly a blind man. Although the soldiers of the G5 branch are all lawless masters, this does not mean that they do all kinds of evil. On the contrary, they have a kinder attitude towards vulnerable groups like civilians. Sir, I don't know who you are looking for when you come to our branch. The middle-aged man smiled and said, I'm looking for the base director of your G5 branch, Bai Ye. Chief of Bai Ye base. The 2 soldiers were stunned for a moment. They were not sure what the relationship between the middle-aged man in front of them and the base commander was, and they did not dare to make decisions. The base commander is outside at the moment and has not returned yet. Otherwise, why don't you go to the lounge with us and wait for a while? I will ask the base commander for instructions after Bai Ye comes back. The middle-aged man seemed to be easy to talk to. Okay, then I'll go to the lounge and wait for him. After saying goodbye to the boatman, the 3 of them walked towards the base. Along the way, the middle-aged man kept asking about news about Bai Ye. What kind of person do you think base commander Bai Ye is? Perhaps because they rarely talk about this with outsiders, the 2 soldiers behaved more talkatively. Captain Bai Ye, I think he is a very interesting person. How do you say that? The middle-aged curiosity was aroused by the 2 of them. Base commander Bai Ye is powerful, but his attitude is extremely easygoing. And he also respects us soldiers and will not force us to do things we don't want to do. Anything else? Bai Ye's character probably emerged in the middle-aged people's minds. Actually, we all think that base commander Bai Ye is very brave and quite capable. Back then, our base was out of supplies for a month, and the base had no money, so more than 3,000 people were about to have nothing to eat. As a result, this problem was easily solved in front of the base commander Bai Ye. Quote. Oh, how did he raise the money? Hearing the intermediary's inquiry, the soldier said proudly, the Bai Ye base took all of us to collect tolls on the sea, and easily collected hundreds of millions of belly. Now our base doesn't even need the supplies sent by Marine every month. These tolls alone are enough for us to survive for several years. Quote. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment, with some doubts on his face. Tolls. Does Marine charge tolls? Did the boatman send me to the wrong place? This is not a Marine branch but a pirate den. However, after listening to the soldier's explanation, the middle-aged man suddenly realized. It turned out that they were collecting tolls from pirates. They even collected tolls from the Big Mom pirates, one of the 4 emperors. Bai Ye is too brave. Chapter 153 Yishao's considerations. Advertise here. 2 soldiers brought the middle-aged man into the branch's lounge. Sir, you rest here for a while. I will inform you when base commander Bai Ye comes back. Although the middle-aged man could not see, his senses were extremely sharp. He smiled kindly at the soldiers and said, I understand, thank you 2 brothers. This is all a trivial matter, so you should take a rest first. The 2 of us will continue to patrol the perimeter of the base. When the soldier was about to walk out of the lounge, he seemed to suddenly remember something, turned around and asked, by the way, don't you know what your name is? My lord, just smile. Jin approached the G5 branch at high speed, thinking about things in his mind. Bai Ye is not in the branch at this time, which means that there is no one in the branch who can threaten him. Moreover, There are senior marine officials arranged by Doflamingo in the G5 branch. As soon as he appears, he will say a specific slogan to recognize himself. Judging from the time, Boss Kaido must have already started fighting with Bai Ye. Bai Ye should be solved soon. Although there seemed to be no obstacles on his side, Doflamingo, who had not appeared for a long time, made Jin feel a little uneasy. Arriving above the G5 branch, Jin folded his wings and swooped down. Flames wrapped around his body, dragging a long tail of flames in the air, looking like a shooting star. However, when Jin first arrived, Yishao in the lounge seemed to be aware of this unusual aura, and subconsciously frowned. Hey, what do you think that streak of fire in the sky is? Could it be a shooting star? It looks like a shooting star. But looking at the direction where the meteor was falling, some soldiers exclaimed. Damn it, this meteor seems to be heading towards our branch. Brothers, all spread out and stay as far away as possible. Tell Major General Virgo about this quickly. The entire Marine branch instantly became agitated. Virgo also came to the scene, looking at Meteor with a hint of worry in his eyes. Of course, he was not worried about the damage caused by the meteor falling into the branch. It was because he had lost contact with Doflamingo half an hour ago. No matter how many times I called, there was no sound. This made him feel that something might have happened unexpectedly, so he was unable to contact Doflamingo. If Bai Ye didn't die this time, then all his and Doflamingo's efforts will be in vain. At this time, everyone was waiting aside, watching the shooting star getting closer and closer, and when they took another look, they realized something was wrong. Why does this shooting star look a bit like a bird? Others haven't reacted yet, but Virgo immediately realized the true identity of this bird that fell from the sky. Dragon fruit ancient species Pteranodon form abilities. The first of the three major trademarks of the beast pirates. Fire disaster. Embers. If Jin appears here, it means that the plan should have been implemented smoothly. Byakuya should be fighting to the death with the beast pirates right now. But why can't I contact the young master? Before Virgo could think about it, the old soldiers who often hang out in the new world around him. He also recognized Jin's identity. He reminded loudly, this bird is a fire disaster. Ember, everyone must be careful. Faced with the sudden attack of the big pirate, there was a brief panic among the soldiers. But more people picked up guns and fired one after another, shooting countless bullets towards the falling Jin. However, these bullets are basically useless against Jin who transforms into a pterosaur form. Even some school-level officers have mastered the armed color hockey and can slightly cover their bullets with some armed color hockey. The shot on Jin's body only left a few white marks. Everyone's expressions became extremely ugly. The base director of Bai Ye is not here. With the strength of these people, it is completely impossible to deal with a big pirate like Jin. At this time, as the highest-ranking officer in the branch, Virgo naturally needs to stand up and show his identity. He ordered to the soldiers, you evacuate outside the base quickly. I will stop Jin and delay time for you. Major General Virgo. The soldiers did not expect that Virgo would make such a self-sacrificial act at such a critical moment. Hot tears filled their eyes, and Virgo's image suddenly grew taller in their hearts. Virgo saw the grateful expressions of the soldiers in his eyes, his expression was solemn, but he was already smiling in his heart. Although he is not Jin's opponent, but he has another level of identity, and Jin will not do anything to him. Instead, it would be easier for him to contact Jin after the soldiers left. Now gain reputation in front of the soldiers. After Bai Ye dies, he will be more likely to become the base director of the G5 branch. However, among the evacuated soldiers, the two soldiers who received Yishao suddenly remembered that Yishao was still in the lounge. With Jin's strength, the entire branch would probably not be able to be saved, and the location of the rest room could easily be affected. If this middle-aged man who calls himself Yishao is really related to the director of Bai Ye base, then we can't let anything happen to him. So he quickly ran to the lounge. Mr. Yishao, there are pirates coming. Please follow us to take shelter outside first. Yishao asked with some confusion, aren't you Marine? If a pirate attacks, shouldn't he be captured? The soldier smiled bitterly and said, I would like to catch him, but the pirate who comes is the first of the three most famous ones in the beast pirates. With our strength, if we want to catch him, we will definitely die. Quote. Another soldier said, yes, the commander of Bai Ye base is not here, so we can't do anything to him. Yixia paused for a few seconds and said solemnly, if this is the case, maybe I can help your branch overcome this difficulty. Quote question mark quote. The two soldiers had question marks on their faces. Mr. Yishao, this is not the time to joke. If Major General Virgo hadn't been there to help us resist and buy us time, we didn't even have time to come and notify you. Quote. Are you saying that your Major General is willing to risk his life to stop Jin in order to buy you time? Yeah, so we'd better leave quickly. Hearing this, Yishao sighed and said, it seems that the marine atmosphere in this branch is really good. In this case, I have to help. Quote. At this time, the playground was completely empty, and all the surrounding soldiers had withdrawn, leaving only Virgo alone. Before Jin even hit the ground, Virgo shouted, Caesar is not here. Jin instantly became aware of the Marine Major General left behind in front of him. It should be the traitor Doflamingo arranged in Marine. Jin regained his body and said with some surprise, I didn't expect that Doflamingo was already a Major General of Marine during the time he was placed in Marine. It seems like that guy has big plans. Quote. Virgo smiled awkwardly. Lord Jin, the young master has already given me instructions. I will take you to find Caesar now. Quote. Jin always kept a relatively safe distance from Virgo, waving his hands and saying, don't worry, let me ask you, where is Doflamingo? Shouldn't young master be dealing with Bai Ye with Lord Kaido? Virgo didn't understand why Jin asked this question. But until the White Knight came, neither Doflamingo nor the Don Quixote family showed up. So, you probably arranged an ambush at the G5 branch, right? We do not rule out the possibility that Doflamingo wants to use the artificial devil fruit technology mastered by Caesar to continue to threaten the beast pirates. Jin assumed a posture ready to take action at any time. Virgo looked nervous and quickly defended, how is this possible? How dare we deceive the beast's pirates? Lord Jin, you have to believe us. Caesar is in prison now. If you don't believe it, we can go find him. Just delivering Caesar into your hands should be enough to prove the sincerity of our Don Quixote family. Quote. Sorry, I always like to take the initiative when doing things. Jin took action directly and grabbed Virgo's shoulder. In his opinion, the least he could do was to capture Virgo first. In this case, even if Doflamingo is really ambushing him, he will become wary because Virgo is in his hands. After all, it would take unimaginable time and energy to cultivate a Marine Major General with a clean net worth. Virgo didn't expect that Jin would be so careful and would want to kill him directly at the slightest suspicion. With a flick of his wrist, a meter-long bamboo pole slipped out of his sleeve, instantly covered with purple-black armed domineering force. Clang! The bamboo pole blocked Jin's attack. Jin sneered, the strength is good, but he is still too weak in front of me. Jin's arm suddenly exerted force, and the bamboo pole covered with armed domineering force was instantly crushed. Looking forward, he found 3 deep blood marks on Virgo's chest. Jin waved his hand and threw the pieces of clothes aside, and said in a contemptuous tone, you'd better just go ahead and capture me, I don't want to accidentally kill you later. As long as I can take Caesar out of the branch, I will let you go. Quote. Virgo endured the pain and said helplessly, I am the strongest in the entire branch now. I'm not even your lord's enemy, so how could I plan to ambush you? Jin, who was always cautious, hesitated for a moment, he didn't want to waste any more time. Moreover, judging from the fact that he almost killed Virgo with his move just now, but still no one took action, maybe there really was no ambush. Okay, then I will believe you once. If there is any problem, I will definitely spread your true identity. Let you and the Don Quixote family be finished. Quote. Don't worry, Mr. Jin, I promise there won't be any problems. In order to prove his sincerity, Virgo even walked to Jin's side. Virgo's actions dispelled most of Jin's doubts. Seeing that Jin was not ready to take action, Virgo immediately breathed a sigh of relief. I will take the adults to the prison now to find Caesar. Jin nodded. But before the two of them could take a step, they saw 3 people suddenly running in from outside. 2 Marine soldiers and a blind middle-aged man in purple. Jin and Virgo were suddenly shocked. Virgo thought to himself that if the soldiers discovered his relationship with Jin, he would really be doomed. Jin, who was already cautious, suddenly began to wonder if these 3 people were arranged by Virgo to deal with him. Virgo noticed Jin looking at him dangerously, and in order to prove his innocence, he immediately whispered, in order to avoid the news leaking, why don't we kill the 3 of them together? Jin nodded and agreed to Virgo's proposal. But the vigilance towards Virgo in his heart has not diminished. As soon as the 2 soldiers came in, they saw the confrontation between Jin and Virgo. When he saw the injuries on Major General Virgo's body, he was shocked. As long as the wound was 3 points deeper, I'm afraid Major General Virgo would be dead. As a result, there was even more fear in the eyes looking at Jin. Mr. Yishao, are you sure you can really deal with Jin? Why do I feel so unsure? If Yishao hadn't insisted on coming, the 2 of them would have fled for their lives. Yishao grinned and said, I'm not sure, I can only say I'll do my best. Both soldiers were on the verge of tears. I'm not sure if you still insist on coming, you really don't take your life seriously, do you? Jin whispered to Virgo, you strike first. Virgo said nothing, but his slight steps proved his attitude. The soldier saw that he was blind and was afraid that he would not be able to tell which one was the enemy. If he attacks Admiral Virgo, then this joke will be too big. Mr. Yishao, the one on the right is the enemy. You must not make a mistake. Yishao frowned. The right side. Why do I feel that both the left and right sides are enemies? Moreover, the left side has greater murderous intent towards us. Quote. Of course, this sentence was not spoken out loud. Out of caution, Yishao decided to listen to the soldiers' opinions. The crutch in Yishao's hand that was used to explore the road was actually a crutch, which he pulled out of its sheath. Gravity sword tiger pressure. Circles and circles of purple air flow were wrapped around the blade, and it slashed out towards Jin on the right. The purple air flow turned into a fierce tiger in midair, roared angrily, opened its bloody mouth and bit at Jin. Seeing this, Jin also pulled out the long sword hanging from his waist, and struck the purple tiger with a flaming slash. When the flame slash came into contact with the tiger suddenly dispersed and turned into countless rays of purple energy, shrouding Jin in it. Jin secretly said bad, before he could make any move. I saw Yishao raising the crutch and inserting it into the ground, shouting, "Press." For a moment, Jin felt as if he was carrying countless mountains on his back. All the bones in the body made an overwhelming sound, and the whole person was directly pressed into the ground. Boom. With Jin as the center, a pit more than 10 meters deep instantly appeared, and the ground cracked like a spider web. Everyone present was shocked by Yishao's terrifying strength. Jin, the leader of the three major names of the beast pirates, was actually subdued by a seemingly ordinary blind middle-aged man in front of him. Who is this guy? The soldier stammered. Mr. Yi, Shao, this. Yishao said calmly, it seems that I have lived up to the two brothers' actions of risking their lives to accompany each other. Virgo, who was right next to Jin, looked at Yishao with a hint of fear in his eyes. I couldn't help but sigh that I was lucky that I didn't take action just now. Otherwise, I might be the one being pushed into the ground now. Although he was lucky enough to save his life, the development of things now far exceeded Virgo's expectation. The most important thing is, who is this mysterious strong man in front of me? However, Virgo's many years of undercover experience helped him calm down quickly and pretend to be happy. I am Major General Virgo of the G5 branch. Thank you, sir, for taking action in time, otherwise I might have died in the hands of pirates. Virgo came to Yishao to thank him. But Yishao seemed extremely cold, without any response. White Knight. But if Bai Ye chooses to believe Yishao's words and launch an investigation into Virgo. So Yishao decided to tell Bai Ye the news when he saw Bai Ye. But even after confirming this, Yishao still found it inconvenient to attack Virgo. That proves that he lacks the ability to recognize people, and Yishao's visit is over. However, what Virgo didn't know was that Mr. Yishao in front of him had been observing him with a domineering look. So I choose to close my eyes and not look at these dirty things. You are ready to leave. Therefore, Yishao concluded that the Major General Virgo in front of him was probably not as great as the soldiers said. But it is precisely because of this that after Yishao's domineering power reached its extreme, it produced other incredible effects. He was even more certain of his previous judgment. Virgo was so angry that he almost broke his teeth and almost fainted. This Major General Virgo is definitely not a good person. It was eventually determined that there was indeed something wrong with Virgo. Maybe the two of them will get along more harmoniously in the future. It's White Knight again. I'm afraid there are secrets that the soldiers don't know. When Yishao sensed that when Virgo heard the word, White Knight, the malice exuding from his body was extremely strong. Because just now he clearly sensed the murderous intention of Major General Virgo in front of him. Let's see what decision Bai Ye makes. If you smile, you will think that Bai Ye can listen to other people's opinions. But how could the soldiers beside Yishao know this? After all, his current identity is just a civilian. I didn't expect that we would be attacked by pirates. What a coincidence. Quote. You must know that a smiling eye is not unable to see due to injury. Even much stronger than Jin, who is a pirate. And after hearing that this extremely powerful middle-aged man in front of him came to look for Bai Ye. For example, being able to distinguish between good intentions and bad intentions in people. If Bai Ye chooses to believe Virgo unconditionally, he was willing to give up his own life to buy time for all the soldiers to escape. Seeing Yishao, he didn't speak, so he helped explain. Major General Virgo, Mr. Yishao just came to the G5 branch today and wanted to find the director of Bai Ye base. It's because Yishao believes that it's a blessing not to be able to see things. There are really too many dirty and despicable people in the world that people can't bear to look at. If he rashly attacks Major General Marine, he may appear on the bounty list before he can explain it to Marine. Yes, this is really a clever mother giving a clever son the gate of opening. What a coincidence. The only good news for Virgo now is probably that Byakuya has probably died at the hands of the beast pirates. Chapter 154 Gambling. Advertise here. Jin was in a deep pit, and his whole body was bearing unimaginable gravity. Even standing up was a luxury. Who is that blind middle-aged man? How can the strength be so terrifying? Moreover, Jin has been roaming the sea for many years, but he has never heard of such a powerful person. Thinking back again, what Virgo said to him before. It can be said that he is the strongest among the Marine branch right now. It is impossible to plan to ambush him, and you have to believe his words. As a result, he turned around and was subdued by the blind middle-aged man whose strength was comparable to that of a general. The more Jin thinks about it, the more he feels that all this is a trap, set by Doflamingo. The purpose is to prevent the beast pirates from getting Caesar. And in order to avoid the beast pirates' revenge on the Don Quixote family afterwards. Maybe Doflamingo has reached an agreement with Marine, and both parties will attack the beast pirates together. If this is the case, it seems that Boss Kaido's dealing with Shiro Yoruichi should be quite unsatisfactory. No, I can't just fall into Marine's hands. Jin made up his mind, tensed his muscles, put his hands on the ground, and kept exerting force, trying to get more space for himself. Not long after, Jin discovered that the pressure brought by this gravity was fixed. In other words, as long as he can transform into a pterosaur form, his physical fitness will be several times stronger than his current state. Maybe you can take advantage of the other party's unpreparedness and escape from the marine branch. After discovering this, Jin's whole body began to slowly change. As the changes continued, the pressure on him gradually eased. Until the moment when feelings reach a breaking point. Jin let out a soft drink and entered the form of a pterosaur. His wings spread out and flapped downward fiercely. The reaction force brought by it helped Jin break away from the constraints of gravity and leap from the pit into the air. Yishao was a little surprised that Jin was able to escape his own gravity. It is worthy of being the first of the 3 major signatures of the Beast Pirates, and it still has some strength. But before Yishao could take action again, Jin ran away without looking back as if he had seen a ghost. However, before escaping, Jin still left a message that echoed in the marine branch. Virgo, we have recorded what you and Doflamingo did. After this incident is over, I, the Beast Pirates, will definitely kill your whole family. Jin's voice was loud, and many soldiers in the entire marine branch heard this. Everyone was talking about it for a while. What's the meaning? Could it be that Major General Virgo has a connection with Doflamingo, one of the Shichibukai, and also tricked the Beast Pirates? Listening to Jin's words before escaping, Virgo was startled and broke into a cold sweat. Does Jin think that this extremely powerful blind middle-aged man was arranged by me? Damn it, I was wronged. The young master and I have obviously arranged everything. After that fake Caesar is taken away by you, everything will develop according to my plan. But who would have thought that Cheng Yaojin would show up halfway and break our plan? Moreover, the most important thing is that Jin's words directly point out the relationship between Virgo and Doflamingo. If we arouse suspicion and conduct an investigation, we may not be able to find out anything. But for Virgo, the only good thing is that Byakuya will probably die at the hands of the Beast Pirates now. The entire G5 branch is now headed by him. As long as the soldiers were not allowed to spread the news, he would have nothing to worry about. So, Virgo gathered the soldiers and comforted him, don't listen to the nonsense of that big pirate Jin. The purpose of what he said was to disturb the morale of the military and destroy the harmonious atmosphere of the G5 branch. Quote. Seeing the doubtful expressions of the soldiers, Virgo was ready to drop a bombshell to completely divert their attention. Virgo pretended to be sad and said in a trembling voice, when I met Jin in the fight just now, I learned from him that the director of the White Knight base had been killed in the hands of Kaido. As soon as these words came out, it was like a thunderbolt exploding in the ears of the soldiers. All the soldiers were stunned, their heads were buzzing, their eyes were straight, and they couldn't believe that the news Virgo said was true. No way, the director of Bai Ye base is actually dead. But an hour ago, Base Commander Bai Ye left the branch fine, but now. I don't believe that Base Commander Bai Ye is so strong. Even if he can't be beaten, can he still be unable to escape? The expressions of many soldiers became angry. Although Bai Ye has not been the base of the G5 branch for a long time, for them, Bai Ye is undoubtedly the most suitable base leader for them. And since the arrival of the White Knight, the standard of living they enjoy is several times higher than before. Virgo felt happy when he saw this. Sure enough, this news could divert everyone's attention. In this case, no one should consider what Jin said before. Yishao on the side also looked very surprised when he heard the news that Bai Ye was dead. He came to the G5 section this time to find Bai Ye. If Byakuya really died in Kaido's hands, then he would have no reason to stay. But Yishao didn't completely believe it, because in his opinion, Virgo was not a good person. So basically what he said is not very credible. The scene was silent, as if immersed in the sad atmosphere of the death of the director of Bai Ye base. At some point, a soldier whispered, I want to avenge Bai Ye base commander. This sentence resonated with all soldiers. Yes, we want to avenge Bai Ye base commander. Revenge. With the strength of the soldiers, it is undoubtedly a fantasy to seek revenge on the Beast Pirates. But they still shouted such words. From the side, Bai Ye's status in the hearts of the soldiers is shown. Even the bystander Yishao was infected by the soldiers' expressions and said softly. If there is a day of revenge, you can inform me, and I am willing to contribute. Although Yishao did not see Bai Ye this time, he still quite agreed with some of Bai Ye's ideas. So if he really needs help, he is willing to help. Ahem, I am also very sad about the death of base commander Bai Ye, but our identity is marine and we cannot act on impulse. Regarding revenge for Bai Ye base commander, we still need to wait for notification from Marine headquarters. Therefore, before the appointment of the headquarters is announced, I will temporarily lead the entire G5 branch. Quote. While Virgo was talking, he found that the soldiers' eyes towards him had changed dramatically. The anger before turned into joy now. Question mark question mark question mark. This is how the same thing. Just when Virgo was confused, a voice that made him extremely disgusted and very familiar suddenly came from behind him. Keep talking. I also want to see how you plan to avenge me. Virgo was frightened and turned his head sharply. Bai Ye's half-smiling face came into his eyes. Bai Ye, base commander. Virgo was so frightened that his voice became a bit shriller. Bai Ye patted Virgo on the shoulder and chuckled, aren't you disappointed to see that I'm not dead? Virgo quickly defended, no way. I'm so glad you're okay, Commander Bai Ye base. If I'm fine, some people will be fine. After saying that, Bai Ye didn't talk to Virgo again. In his opinion, this time the beast pirates used Ain and Tashi to lure him out of the branch. There must be Virgo's idea among them. This is something Bai Ye will never tolerate. So after these things are settled, Virgo should disappear with the Don Quixote family. Bai Ye simply said a few words to calm the soldiers' emotions and let them disperse. Then Bai Ye turned his attention to Yishao beside him. In fact, Bai Ye was not surprised by Yishao's appearance. Because he had specifically proposed the abolition of the Shichibukai system long ago. And preached it with great fanfare through Morgos. The purpose is to fish out Yishao. But what I didn't expect was that Yishao would come to the G5 branch at this time. Just in time to repel Jin, which saved the lives of many soldiers. The most important thing is that Yishao is definitely at the level of a high-level general. In the entire sea, you can count the number of strong men on your fingers. After finally fishing him out, he must not let him leave again. No matter what, he had to be tricked into becoming his subordinate. With a smile on his face, Bai Ye reached out his hand first and said gratefully, Mr. Yishao, right. I've heard what happened just now. If you hadn't taken action, I'm afraid the soldiers would have suffered heavy casualties. As the base commander of the branch, I would like to thank you on behalf of the soldiers. Quote. Yishao felt Bai Ye's kindness to him, it's just a little effort. It can be said that Bai Ye's remarks alone made his impression in Yishao's heart gradually increase. In fact, when Bai Ye looked at Yishao, Yishao was also looking at Bai Ye. When I first saw Bai Ye, I found that Bai Ye was unexpectedly young. However, perhaps it was because Byakuya was young and energetic that he dared to propose the abolition of the Shichibukai system. Bai Ye wants to trick Yishao into becoming his subordinate. Naturally, it is not convenient to say some things here. So he invited Yishao to the office. I heard that Mr. Yishao came to the branch specifically to see me. Yishao nodded. Yes, although I am just a blind old man, I am still quite concerned about the situation on the sea. I heard that Base Commander Byakuya seemed to have proposed the abolition of the Shichibukai system in a high-level marine meeting. Is this the case? Sure enough, Bai Ye guessed that Yishao came for this matter. That's right, I learned about what Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai, did in the Alabasta Kingdom. Unable to bear the anger in his heart, he took the initiative to propose the abolition of Shichibukai at the meeting. Quote. After finishing speaking, Bai Ye asked deliberately, does Mr. Yishao not agree with the abolition of the Shichibukai system? No, I quite support this proposal. Well, it would be great if the world government had the same ideas as Mr. Yishao. To be honest, the reason why I was ambushed by the beast pirates this time was because of Doflamingo, one of the Shichibukai. This shows how arrogant Shichibukai is. Quote. Hearing Bai Ye mention Doflamingo, Yishao recalled Jin's words before escaping and hesitated. Actually, there is something I don't know whether I should say. Mr. Yishao, it doesn't matter. Before Jin escaped, he said that Major General Virgo seemed to have some connection with Doflamingo. Of course, I'm not sure whether it's true or false, so I need the Bai Ye base director to make his own judgment. Quote. Really? In fact, I have long begun to suspect that Virgo is the mole arranged by Doflamingo in Marine. It's just that there is no evidence. Quote. However, at this moment, the phone on Bai Ye's table suddenly rang. Sengoku Fleet Admiral. When he heard the call from Marine Fleet Admiral, he smiled knowingly and motioned for him to go out first. But he was stopped by Bai Ye. A surprised voice came from the other end of the phone. Bai Ye, are you okay? Bai Ye said angrily, Warring States Fleet Admiral, judging by your tone, are you expecting something to happen to me? Sengoku laughed and said, of course I didn't mean that. I just got the news that you were besieged by the beast pirates. So I wanted to call and confirm. Quote. Bai Ye thought that sooner or later this matter would be known to the world, so he might as well just admit it. Of course, you can't talk about how you defeated Kaido alone, otherwise it will bring you a lot of trouble and suspicion. This is indeed the case, but Teacher Zephyr happened to come to the branch to visit me. Kaido saw that he couldn't do anything to me, so he withdrew. Warring States listened to Bai Ye's explanation without becoming suspicious. With the strength of Byakuya and Zephyr, it is not impossible to defeat Kaido. Moreover, Sengoku also knew that Zephyr had taken leave to go to the New World. I just didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. As long as you're okay. However, in addition to confirming your situation when I called this time, there is one more thing I need you to do. According to reliable information, the Don Quixote family, where the Drake Rosa Kingdom is located, suffered a sudden attack from the Night Organization. Contact has been lost now. Your location is relatively close to the Kingdom of Derek Rosa, so you need to check the specific situation. The most important point is to confirm Doflamingo's life and death. Quote. Speaking of this, Sengoku paused and said in a serious tone, Bai, I know the grudge between you and Doflamingo. If Doflamingo dies at the hands of the Night Organization, everyone will be happy. But if he's not dead, I don't want to hear about you taking action to kill Doflamingo. His identity is very special. Your words of killing him will do you no good. Instead, it will cause you a lot of trouble. Your future is bright, there is no need to compromise your future with Doflamingo. Quote. This time Bai Ye was attacked by the beast pirates, and the Don Quixote family was also suddenly attacked by the Knight organization. The two things seemed to be a coincidence, happening on the same day. But warring states simply did not associate these two things together. The reason is very simple. Unless Bai Ye can control the Knight organization and the beast pirates at the same time, the current situation will be caused. Otherwise, this can only prove that Bai Ye is not the Knight of the Yi organization, and all the worries before the Warring States period are useless. But this is also what the Warring States period hopes to see. That's why he knew Bai Ye's character and still said those words that made Bai Ye displeased. And after clearing Bai Ye's suspicion, Sengoku prepared to train Bai Ye with all his strength. Among the current three marine generals, Akainu is too extreme, Kizaru is too lazy, and Aokiji is too kind. None of them are particularly suitable for the position of Marine Fleet Admiral. However, Bai Ye's appearance gave Sengoku a new choice. He was young enough, strong enough, and responsible, and he would never show mercy when dealing with pirates. So he didn't want Bai Ye to do something stupid at such a critical moment. In fact, Bai Ye had long expected that Zhonghui would make this call. He is also ready to go to the kingdom of Dressrosa. What he didn't expect was that Warring States' tone today was particularly special. It seemed that he regarded him as the next Marine Fleet Admiral, so he warned him repeatedly. Therefore, Bai Ye rarely quarreled with Warring States, but readily accepted the task. After hanging up the phone, Zhongguo felt quite relieved, sighing from time to time that Bai Ye, the child, had grown up. But how could he have thought that it was just because Bai Ye wanted to go to the kingdom of Drake and Rosa that he agreed so readily? Mr. Yishao, did you hear everything on the phone? Yishao nodded and said, I didn't expect that Commander Bai Ye would have such a special status in the heart of Warring States Fleet Admiral. Bai Ye said confidently, of course my nephew needs more care. Just laugh it off, if it is really just because of the relationship that I will take special care of you. Then Sengoku cannot become Marine Fleet Admiral. Mr. Yishao, you also heard the call, do you want to go to the kingdom of Drake Rosa with me? Let's see what the kingdom occupied by the Shichibukai we resisted together looks like. Quote. Hearing Bai Ye's suggestion, Yishao suddenly became interested. Oh, I heard that the Drake Rosa Kingdom, under the governance of Doflamingo, is known as the Land of Love, Passion and Toys, and is very famous in the New World. Moreover, the citizens love Doflamingo very much. Quote. These news are not rumors. It's because after the Alabasta incident happened last time, it caused other franchise countries to panic about Shichibukai. Therefore, world government takes Doflamingo and Drake Rosa Kingdom as examples. Prove that Shichibukai can coexist peacefully with the franchised countries and make the country a better place. This is to dispel the concerns of other franchised countries. Because the world government vigorously publicizes it, basically everyone in Dahai knows about it. When Bai Ye learned the news, he almost laughed. There is no good example of this world government, but the Doflamingo and Drake Rosa kingdoms. If you don't know the secret behind it, how can I not know it? If this were revealed to be what Doflamingo, whom they regarded as a model, had done in the kingdom, I think the world government would be slapped in the face. Bai Ye smiled and said, Mr. Yishao, do you really believe that the Drake Rosa Kingdom is as advertised by the world government? Yishao was stunned, and said with surprise, since it has been used as a model for publicity, there shouldn't be any mistakes, right? Even with a smile, I underestimated the shamelessness of world government. Bai Ye knew that a smile was a good bet, so he joked, in that case, let's make a bet. Bet. Yishao was already a gambler, but after hearing Bai Ye's proposal, his interest became more intense, and his impression of Bai Ye soared. This young man not only thinks the same as me, but also knows my husband's interests and hobbies. It's rare to find such a considerate and handsome guy in Dahai. Yishao suddenly remembered that he had some distant nieces in his hometown, and wondered whether he should recommend them to Bai Ye and let the two of them become in-laws. But at this time, Yishao deleted the idea from his mind. What kind of bet? We will go to the kingdom of Derek Rosa together. If it is really similar to what the world government advertises, I will lose. Otherwise, the husband loses. Quote. What about the bet? If I lose, I can promise you anything within my ability. If you lose, you will need to join Marine and me to jointly promote the abolition of the Shichibukai system. Quote. Oh, is it such a big bet? Yishao was not dissatisfied with this bet. Because he came to look for Byakuya this time with the purpose of joining Marine to abolish the Shichibukai system. When I met Bai Ye, I just wanted to identify a like-minded comrade. So there is no difference to him whether he gambles or not. They are all in line with his wishes. But as a long-term gambler, Yishao was not very willing to accept this kind of gamble where the outcome would make no difference to him. At this moment, Yishao suddenly remembered the conversation between Marine Fleet Admiral Sengoku and Bai Ye. If he really loses the bet this time, he will become Byakuya's subordinate and jointly promote the abolition of the Shichibukai system. If Byakuya can really become a Marine Fleet Admiral in the future, then he will also be a Marine Fleet Admiral. It does not mean that he has lowered his status. And I don't care about this at all. The most important thing is that this may be fairer. Yi smiled and said happily, okay, I will accept this bet and go to the kingdom of Drake Rosa with you. Bai Ye saw Yishao and agreed, his eyes full of smiles. This was his first step to fool him, luring him with his gambling-loving personality. After reaching the kingdom of Drake and Rosa, he has a second step to take. After Doflamingo's evil deeds are exposed, he will show acting skills that are enough to win an Oscar statuette, so as to make people smile. Let Yishao worship himself willingly. And Morgans, who followed the news from the Night Organization, had already been gearing up in the kingdom of Drake Rosa, waiting for the big show to come. By then, with his superb acting skills and media promotion, it will be difficult for Bai Ye not to become famous in the sea. In this case, two things can be done at once. Conquer the general level combat power with a smile. Increase your reputation level and earn a large wave of world power. It's a double happiness, it's so exciting. However, if Bai Ye knew that Yishao felt that the bet was unfair to him. So if he secretly added weight, Bai Ye, who was already secretly happy, would probably be so happy. Fair. I won't go to Dracorosa Kingdom now, I already know what happened there. Moreover, I sent the Night Organization there, and it is waiting for me there now. I can say it is a 100% sure win. You talk to me about fairness. Did you get the wrong person? Chapter 155 The First Act. Advertise here. Drake Rosa Kingdom, inside the palace. When will it end? It's so boring to stay here. The tornado used telekinesis and circled around the palace, making Lucci and others dizzy. They really want the tornado to calm down. Although the tornado man is not big, he is extremely powerful. Doflamingo and the Don Quixote family are still trapped underground. So they could only coax this ant and didn't dare to say a harsh word. Lucci comforted him, it should be soon. I just received news from Lord Yi. They are already on their way. Because Doflamingo and others are mentally isolated, they will not hear their conversations. Oh, the opponent is too weak, it's not interesting at all. Tatsumaki complained boredly. But she didn't know how many people's hearts were hurt by her unintentional words. Luo really wanted to ask at this time. Auntie, Doflamingo is one of the Shichibukai after all, the enemy I want to spend my whole life trying to kill. Is he so worthless in your opinion? Even Enel, who is usually quite conceited, felt ashamed. He originally thought that his strength was pretty good on the sea. You know, his reward amount is as high as 700 million belly. In the Night Organization, apart from Night, only Sonic is taller than him. As a result, I don't know where Master Yi found two mysterious strong men. Not to mention the lowly-like girl, suppressing the entire Don Quixote family with one blow is enough to prove her terrifying strength. The most important thing is the man who calls himself king. The momentum exuded from his body is actually on par with Master Yi, and sometimes even slightly exceeds it. Although King did not take action in this operation, with this invincible momentum, in the minds of everyone, his true strength should be no less than Master Yi. Even if it is slightly weaker, it is not much weaker. But if they knew that King didn't have that invincible aura and was just an ordinary normal person, would their jaws drop? Although the distance from the Marine G5 branch to the kingdom of Drake Rosa is short, it still takes about a day. But with the G-Zui moving at full speed, this time was greatly shortened. The next day, early morning. After a night of sailing, Bai Ye and Yishao finally arrived at the kingdom of Drake Rosa. Looking at the country in front of him illuminated by the rising sun, Bai Ye suddenly felt emotional. Starting today, the kingdom of Drake Rosa will truly be reborn. It's time to uncover the darkness behind the prosperity. Of course, Bai Ye does not feel that he is the benefactor of this country. Because he has his own purpose in doing all this. Mr. Yishao, let's go. Come on, let me see what is different about this country that is used for propaganda by the world government. The two got off the boat, and then followed more than 200 soldiers, forming 3 teams and following them neatly. In the palace, Sonic suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Master Yi has arrived, we can prepare to evacuate. V, we can finally be liberated. Tatsumaki became overjoyed. Lucci asked from the side, has the location of Sugar been determined? It's okay, I've already informed Mr. Yi. Well, we, Mr. Yi, are meeting for the last time, and we can prepare to return to Sky Island. At this time, Luo suddenly asked, what about the 3 revolutionary soldiers we captured at the arms factory? Should I leave it here and let Marine handle it, or should I take it away? Because Luo had spent time with the Don Quixote family before, it was up to him and Sonic to search for traces of Sugar on the island. So they began to search for the relatively hidden places in Luo's memory. However, while searching an arsenal, they came across an underground arms deal between the Revolutionary Army and the Don Quixote family. A conflict broke out between the two parties over price issues. One of them, a boy who looked young but not weak in strength, caught their attention. Because it was dark, the Revolutionary Army people thought Sonic and Law were people from the Don Quixote family who came to support them. Therefore, he turned to attack them. Originally, Sonic was planning to kill all 3 of them, but was stopped by Luo in time. Luo knew that the goal of the Revolutionary Army on the sea was to overthrow the world government, and this force was not considered an evil force. Moreover, Luo has a good sense about the Revolutionary Army, and the goals of the Revolutionary Army and the goal of the Night Organization, world peace, are actually not much different. It's just that the methods used by both parties are different. There is no need to initiate a conflict with the Revolutionary Army until the critical moment. So, Sonic caught the three of them and knocked them all unconscious. Now that Master Yi has arrived, they are preparing to evacuate. But these three revolutionary armies became a hot potato. If they were left to Marine, it would be equivalent to letting the three of them die, and Luo Yu couldn't bear it. It would not be the same thing if the three of them were brought to Sky Island without permission. That's why Luo reluctantly asked everyone for their opinions. Lu Qi thought for a while and then said, it is better to blindfold them and bring them back to Sky Island, and then tell Lord Yi the news and let Lord Yi make the decision. Everyone expressed no objection to this. Except for Bai Ye. Among the rest of the Yi organization, in terms of strength, Lu Qi couldn't even be ranked in the top 3. But in Bai Ye's absence, he still became the only leader of the Yi organization. This is enough to show how important it is to have a flexible mind on the sea. Bai Ye and others walked towards the palace on the top of the mountain, but were stopped by a group of people halfway. The leader was covered in muscles and looked extremely strong. He led more than 30 men holding muskets and stopped in front of Bai Ye. The muscular man shouted, this is the territory of Master Doflamingo, one of the Shichibukai. Marine is not allowed to land on the island until he is notified. Because Tatsumaki and others made a surprise attack, they rushed directly to the palace and eliminated the palace guards. Doflamingo and those senior cadres were eliminated with one blow, very quickly, without causing any major impact. Therefore, the low-level members responsible for patrolling below the palace had no idea that their young master was being pinned underground. I thought the young master was out with senior cadres. Seeing this situation, Bai Ye couldn't help but feel funny. He didn't even know that his boss was killed. You dare to use Doflamingo to suppress me. I'm afraid you don't know how to write the word, death. Bai Ye smiled at Yi Yi and said, look, how powerful Shichibukai is, the kingdom of Drake and Rosa is a member country. We at Marine actually don't even have the right to land in the franchised countries, and this right was banned because of pirates. How ironic. Quote. Yi Xiao couldn't see anything, but from the other party's tone, he could feel the arrogance and domineering flavor. The muscular man couldn't help but get angry when he saw that Marine was unmoved in the face of his threat. I told you carefully, but you didn't listen. Don't blame us for taking action. After saying this, more than 30 men directly picked up their muskets and pointed them at Bai Ye, preparing to pull the trigger. But they were fast, and Bai Ye's soldiers were even faster. Just when they were about to pull the trigger, several bullets pierced their heads. The muscular man's death was even more miserable, with his whole body almost beaten into a sieve. When the toys and passers-by on the street saw this scene, they all fled in panic. In their eyes, the Don Quixote family was like God. Now that the sky is broken, it means something big is going to happen. At this level, you still dare to point a gun at our boss. It's really annoying. That's it. What a bastard Shichibukai. You dare to threaten boss Bai Ye, you must find him and kill him. Based on their attitude alone, if we don't clear out their property this time, our trip will be in vain. Bai Ye's soldiers cursed. From the words in their mouths, it seems that Bai Ye is not the base commander of the Marine branch, but the captain of a pirate group. Coupled with the Marine uniforms they were wearing, it sounded very awkward. Bai Ye has long been accustomed to the character of his subordinates. A smile is just a raised corner of the mouth without any words. With the lessons learned from the past, the rest of the Don Quixote family naturally did not dare to stop Marine anymore, and could only watch Marine climb the mountain road to the palace. Someone wanted to tell the young master or other senior cadres about the news, but no matter how they called, no one answered. Now they couldn't help but panic. Could something really happen to the young master and the others? When Bai Ye brought people to the palace, he happened to see 7 people from Yi's organization standing at the door. It seemed like he had known Marine's arrival for a long time and was waiting for them here. Lu Qi and others have long known that Marine Lieutenant General Bai Ye is Yi. Now is the time to consider the acting skills of both parties. Bai Ye was the first to speak, asking, where is Doflamingo? What did you do to him? As the dog-headed strategist of the current night organization, Lu Qi stepped forward without hesitation and said, it's almost as good as the person is not dead. But you Marines are really bad, you are looking for someone to be a Shichibukai. Quote. Bai Ye took a step forward, held Feng Ming in his hand and said coldly, it's not your turn to take care of Marine's affairs. I think you want to move into the city to retire. When Lu Qi saw Bai Ye wanting to take action, his pupils shrank and a thin layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. What does it mean? Lord Yi is not willing to kill someone to silence himself in order to prove his innocence. This paragraph didn't exist in the previous script. Lu Qi has seen Bai Ye's strength. If he really wants to take action, I'm afraid none of the 7 of them can even think of running away. And not only did Lu Qi feel scared, but the other 6 people subconsciously pushed back half a step when Bai Ye wanted to take action. If it weren't for that point, they all wanted to take off their masks and shout to Bai Ye, brother, don't do anything, it's one of our own. The people next to him were dumbfounded when they smiled. Is Bai Ye really that brave? Opposite is the Knight organization, which has a total bounty of more than 6 billion Baileys and is known as the 5th Emperor of the Sea. Even if the 2 of us attack together, it will be quite difficult to deal with the 7 people of the Yi organization. What do you want to do when you want to kill the Knight organization as soon as we meet? Moreover, the Yi organization actually took half a step back when they saw you preparing to take action. What's happening here? Could it be that the Knight organization thinks that the White Yoruichi has the strength to deal with the 7 of them? However, what Yi Xiao didn't know was that Bai Ye was also scolding the 7 cowards opposite him in his heart. Since both parties have met, according to Bai Ye's character, it is appropriate to take action. If not, he will be haunted. And by attacking them, Bai Ye would certainly not be able to show his true strength. Even if they did fight, they would just exchange 1 or 2 casual moves. They chose to retreat directly, and Bai Ye would not pursue them. But what do you mean when you all retreated when you saw me preparing to make a move? There were so many people watching. The Knight organization has been completely disgraced by you. Fortunately, at this time, the bold king realized that there was something wrong with what he and others did. There is a saying that the person who can keep his face straight and pretend to be calm to the extreme when facing a strong person is definitely king. This guy has never lost when it comes to pretending to be B. At this time, King's back clothes were soaked with sweat, but his words were full of force. Marine is so majestic. If our organization's goal were not world peace. Believe it or not, I will make it impossible for any of you Marines to leave the kingdom of Drake and Rosa alive today. Quote. Seeing that King finally spoke, Bai Ye finally breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that King is the best at the critical moment. Then I want to see how strong you are and how capable you are of saying such arrogant words. Before he finished speaking, Bai Ye, holding Feng Ming in his hand, appeared in front of King. The sword body was wrapped with extremely strong sword pressure and whizzed towards him. If it weren't for King B's many years of experience, he would have enough experience. Just the overwhelming sword pressure could make him collapse to the ground in fear. However, Tatsumaki, who was hiding behind the crowd, reacted in time and used his telekinesis to control hundreds of black balls to form a shield in front of King. Ding! The harsh collision sound suddenly echoed through the sky. The sharp sword pressure splashed everywhere, causing sword marks to be drawn on the ground, and even several pillars outside the palace were cut off. The entire palace became crumbling. In fact, Bai Ye's sword was just a show-off. It looked like he was striking the shield formed by the black ball with all his strength. But in fact, nearly 80% of the power is used to destroy the surrounding environment. After all, in the eyes of normal people, the shield is the one that bears the main pressure of this sword. The surrounding environment was only slightly affected by the remaining power. But just the impact of the remaining power is so terrifying. Isn't it hard to imagine the strength of Yi, who can even block this sword easily? Bai Ye pulled back, pretending to be afraid. He is worthy of being the 5th emperor of the sea who defeated Big Mom. His strength is worthy of your bounty. King was relieved when he saw Bai Ye withdrawing. But you have to put on a complete outfit. There is no such thing as just being beaten and not fighting back. King said coldly, although our target is not you Marine, the dignity of the Knight organization cannot be challenged by anyone. Bang! As the rapid heartbeat sounded, the entire sky seemed to be dyed purple black. An invincible momentum was suddenly released from King, filling the entire space. The extremely strong sense of oppression made everyone feel like they were deprived of oxygen. The eyes looking at King were full of horror. Is this a man or a god? How could there be such a strong man on the sea? Even Yi Xiao felt his back get cold and his palms became sweaty when faced with the impact of this momentum. Because his perception of hockey is extremely strong, he has a deeper understanding of the aura exuded by King than ordinary people. At this moment, Yi Xiao even felt like a baby who had not yet grown up, facing the powerful young man. It seemed as if he could easily kill himself by just stretching out his hand. This feeling is very strong. Bai Ye forced himself to spit out a mouthful of blood, which flowed from the corner of his mouth. It seemed that he was attacked by Yi's momentum and suffered serious internal injuries. Seeing Bai Ye giving the information, King paused starting the Emperor engine, and said coldly. HMPH, this is just a small punishment for your previous attack. If there is a next time, I will kill even Marine. Bruno opened an air door at the rear and prepared to evacuate. Luo entered first with 3 unconscious revolutionary troops, and then others entered one after another until King was the only one left outside the door. At this time, not only King was very nervous, but Bai Ye was too. If Yi Xiao suddenly takes action at this time, it will be revealed that King has no strength at all. Fortunately, Yi Xiao seemed to be intimidated by the momentum released by King and did not choose to take action. This made King and Bai Ye breathe a sigh of relief. Before King entered the air door, he threw a document to Bai Ye. It records all the evil things Doflamingo did in the kingdom of Dracorosa. You Marines, take a good look. This is why Shichibukai was selected by the world government as a model of harmonious coexistence with its affiliated countries. It's so funny. Quote. After installing the last B, King enters the air door. The air door disappeared into the air, and the first scene of the White Knight officially ended. Bai Ye pretended to open the file, his face became increasingly gloomy, as if he could drip water. At this time, Yi Xiao woke up from the previous shock and realized that something was wrong with Bai Ye. Lieutenant General Bai Ye, what are you? Bai Ye sighed helplessly. Mr. Yi Xiao, let me read it to you. If the information above is true, then I am really ashamed of my status as Marine. After Bai Ye finished reading the contents of the document, Yi Xiao's face became extremely ugly. If these are true, then the kingdom of Dracorosa lived in dire straits during the reign of Doflamingo. Moreover, the methods used by Doflamingo are simply outrageous. I really didn't expect that the model promoted by world government would actually be so bad. Although I have known about Doflamingo's character for a long time, I know that he cannot be a great king as advertised. But I never thought that he would do so many extremely evil things. Quote. With that said, Bai Ye put away the documents and walked towards the palace. As soon as he entered the door, he saw a huge palm print on the ground in the palace, and the unconscious Don Quixote family members inside. From the looks of it, it was probably the little Lolita Tatsumaki who did it. I didn't expect this little guy to be so ruthless. Bai Ye walked up to General Doflamingo and struck Doflamingo hard on the face with his scabbard. Bai Ye looked at Doflamingo's confused look and couldn't help but sigh, are this guy's sunglasses really unbreakable? When he opened his eyes, he found that the person in front of him was not the Yi organization before, but Bai Ye, whom he wanted to kill in his dreams. In order to break the pair of sunglasses, Bai Ye even covered the scabbard with dark-armed hockey and tried 3 times. When Doflamingo saw Bai Ye walking towards him again, he raised his hand in a familiar manner and waved the scabbard in a familiar manner. It directly pulled Doflamingo dozens of meters away, and did not stop until it hit the palace wall. However, when Bai Ye saw the pair of sunglasses, he was shocked. At this moment, the pair of sunglasses broke together with Doflamingo's heart. He still didn't believe it. With his strength, he couldn't even break his sunglasses. Bai Ye walked towards Doflamingo with the scabbard in hand, wanting to slap the sunglasses on Doflamingo's face hard again. When he saw the evil things Doflamingo had done, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart and beat Doflamingo again and again to vent his anger. The familiar self flew out again and was deeply embedded in the wall, the kind that couldn't be picked out. Although the lenses of the sunglasses were full of cracks and looked dilapidated, they still hung firmly on Doflamingo's face. Doflamingo woke up from his coma after being whipped so hard by Bai Ye. Byakuya should have been ambushed by the beast pirates yesterday and died in the hands of Kaido. Coupled with the bet with Bai Ye, he had already lost. Doflamingo watched Bai Ye walk up to him step by step, raised his hand, and used the scabbard to fly away like a tennis ball. Damn it, I'm so angry. Known as the #1 artifact in the pirate world. Do Doflamingo sunglasses also have such attributes? Can someone still stand in front of him and show off his power, even though he has drawn his 3 sword scabbards? Is this a human life? How could he appear in Dracorosa today? Doflamingo hit the wall again before falling down. Doflamingo was on the verge of tears for a moment. Not only did this guy survive the ambush of the beast pirates, he also. Lieutenant General Bai Ye is indeed a man of true temperament. Doflamingo even felt that he hated Bai Ye so much that he was hallucinating. At this moment, Yi Xiao made a decision. After this incident was over, he was going to join the G5 branch and work with Yoruichi Bai to promote the abolition of the Shichibukai system. This behavior may seem extreme, but it is enough to show that General Bai Ye is a kind-hearted person. Bang! The severe pain in his head and the 2 burning scabbard marks on his face reminded Doflamingo that this was not a dream. That bastard who whipped him 3 times was really Bai Ye. Damn it, it's not broken yet. Just like the clogs worn by Luffy, he will not be damaged even if he fights with various strong men along the way, even against the 4 emperors. Now Doflamingo completely believed it. It turned out that all this was really not a dream. When Byakuya walked toward Doflamingo with the dark scabbard in his hand, he noticed the smile not far away and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Could it be that the guy who slapped him was really Bai Ye? Chapter 156 Let the bullets fly to apply for world heritage. Doflamingo saw Bai Ye walking towards him again, and said angrily, don't come over. If the wall wasn't too strong, Doflamingo would have wanted to dig a hole in the wall and slip away. It's not that Doflamingo doesn't want to resist, it's that he has no way to resist at this time. After receiving a full blow from the power of the tornado, Doflamingo was seriously injured, with less than 30% of his strength remaining. As a result, Byakuya drew the scabbard of his sword 3 times in a row. Each blow seemed to hit Doflamingo's face, but rather, it hit his proud heart. Doflamingo recalled his deliberate plans during this period and tried to find a way for the beast pirates to ambush Byakuya. In the end, my goal was achieved. The beast pirates did indeed attack Byakuya according to their plan. I originally thought that Bai Ye had fallen into a certain death situation, and the revenge of Torbal and others could finally be avenged. But who would have thought that Bai Ye didn't die? But his side was attacked by the Knight organization. Most of the entire Don Quixote family was killed or injured, and even if the remaining people did not die in the hands of Yi, they were still seriously injured. The Don Quixote family faced Byakuya, who was able to escape from the ambush of the beast pirates. Even if they were not injured, they would probably not pose any threat to Bai Ye. Because the strength of both sides is not at the same level at all. Bai Ye pulled Doflamingo off the wall, grabbed his collar, and pulled him in front of her. Staring into Doflamingo's eyes, he grinned and said, are you surprised that I can still appear in front of you? Jian Bai seems to have realized that all this was caused by him secretly. Doflamingo didn't hide anything, he laughed at himself, I was surprised, I didn't expect Kaido to be such a waste. Even with all the advantages, I still couldn't kill you. Quote. Doflamingo probably knew that if he fell into Bai Ye's hands, he would probably not end well. So he became extremely casual when speaking. He even dared to call Kaido a waste. Bai Ye explained coquettishly, actually, Kaido is not too useless. At that time, I was already in danger when faced with the siege of the beast pirates. Doflamingo raised his head in confusion, as if wondering why Bai Ye was telling him these things. Bai Ye continued, maybe it's because I can't bear to see those thinly dressed women standing on the street blowing the cold wind outside, so I am willing to give some of my money to them and always insist on doing charity. So my kindness was rewarded by God. At my most dangerous moment, Teacher Zephyr happened to come to New World to see me, and happened to pass by the place where the beast pirates chose to ambush me, Wall Island. After Mr. Zephyr discovered my danger, he worked with me to repel the beast pirates. This allowed me to save my life. Only then did I have the opportunity to stand in front of you and look at you in such embarrassment. Quote. Speaking of this, Bai Ye pretended to be sad and said, after this incident, I have become more determined to do charity in the future. It seems like good people will still be rewarded. After listening to Bai Ye's words, Doflamingo's face turned livid. Only now did he fully understand why Bai Ye said what he said. You tell me, my plan could have succeeded, but by chance, I met Zephyr and went to the New World. I conveniently rescued you from the ambush of the beast pirates, making all my efforts come to nothing. Let me know that my failure is just a coincidence, just to stimulate lousy. Do you still need to be heartbroken to kill someone? You bastard is too vicious. As for what Bai Ye said about doing good deeds and doing charity, Doflamingo didn't even believe a single punctuation mark. This guy is so bad that he even dares to steal Big Mom's money, but he still spends the money for charity. It would be nice to just steal money from those women. Wait, those women Bai Ye mentioned, are they serious? At this time, Bai Ye went over the document that King gave him in front of Doflamingo's eyes. Do you know what the consequences will be if these things spread? When Doflamingo saw the contents of the document, his pupils suddenly shrank and he broke into a cold sweat. Of course he knows that if these things are spread, even if he is a Tianlong. In order to calm the uneasiness and anger of many participating countries, the world government even if it does not execute him. At the very least, he would be imprisoned in a city that never sees the light of day until the day he dies of old age. If he hadn't been seriously injured now, even if he couldn't defeat Bai Ye, he would have tried to destroy the document in Bai Ye's hand. Without that document, his identity is still Shichibukai, and Marine has no right to dispose of him. He doesn't have to worry about what Bai Ye will do to him. But if that document is available and publicized, even if Bai Ye killed him on the spot, I'm afraid there wouldn't be too much trouble. Bai Ye's tone seemed to have a negotiable meaning. Doflamingo said decisively, you can make a request, how can you not make this document public? Bai Ye showed an unfathomable smile and asked, I want to know what the secret treasure of the Tianlong people is. If you can tell, I might consider keeping this document private. Quote. Listening to Bai Ye's request, Doflamingo became dumbfounded, and his surprise was beyond words. The news of the Celestial Dragon's secret treasure was almost only circulated among the Celestial Dragons. If Doflamingo's family had not been one of the 20 royal families, even if his identity is still a Celestial Dragon, I am afraid that I am not qualified to know about the secret treasure of the Tianlong people. But how on earth did Bai Ye know this? Could it be that he is also a member of the royal family of heavenly dragons living abroad? Bai Ye looked at Doflamingo and seemed to guess his thoughts. Don't think too much, my identity is different from yours, I'm just an ordinary person. I heard this news unexpectedly. Quote. Doflamingo looked slightly relaxed and said firmly, although I don't know where you got this news from. But I know that if I tell you this secret, my only fate will be death. Quote. Bai Ye smiled. He was quite curious about the secret treasure of the Celestial Dragons, but that was the extent of it. It's better to know, and it doesn't matter if you don't know. Anyway, with Bai Ye's strength, as long as he wants, the Tianlong secret treasure can be renamed Bai Ye's secret treasure. Since you don't agree, forget it, but maybe we can make a deal. Doflamingo was a little surprised and asked, what deal? I know that Major General Virgo under my command is the traitor you sent to Marine. I believe that with the level of caution you both have, you will definitely destroy all relevant evidence. So I didn't bother to look for evidence anymore. But I don't want to keep such a ticking time bomb hidden in my branch. Let's make a deal. As long as you report Major General Virgo as the traitor you sent, I will spare your life. I can let you go, too. What do you think? Think about it. It's not that Bai Ye has no way to kill Virgo, he can use his identity as the Yi organization to do it. It is not impossible to even force Virgo to death and insist that he is a traitor. Bai Ye believed that if Sengoku had to choose between Virgo and himself, he would definitely choose himself. But he didn't want to be so extreme. It can be seen from the meaning of the words of the Warring States period that he was trained as the next Marine Fleet Admiral. At this time, he didn't want any stain on himself. That's why he chose to make a deal with Doflamingo and get the irrefutable proof that Virgo was a traitor. Doflamingo was stunned and said firmly, it's impossible, I have nothing to do with Virgo. Although Virgo's strength is not enough to deal with Bai Ye, being able to discuss Bai Ye is still a good choice. Bai Ye didn't say much. He beckoned for a soldier and gave some instructions. Then Doflamingo saw the marine soldiers standing in front of the seriously injured senior cadres, holding guns against their heads. Bai Ye said calmly, "There are 10 people in total. You have 10 seconds to think. There is no need to answer me in such a hurry." 10. Bang. As soon as he finished speaking, a soldier shot directly, hitting senior cadre Dellinger through the head. Doflamingo's eyes instantly turned red, and he gritted his teeth and looked at Bai Ye. In Doflamingo's heart, after more than 10 years, these senior cadres are like his family, and he cherishes each one of them extremely. But Bai Ye now shot his men in front of him, forcing him to make a choice. However, Bai Ye didn't care about Doflamingo's eyes that he wanted to kill him. 9. Bang. Senior cadre, Gladius, died. 8. Bang. Senior officer, Jorah, dead. Doflamingo said angrily, "Bai Ye, I'm going to kill you." Doflamingo used all the physical strength he had recovered during this period, and the ground under his feet instantly turned into countless soft white thin lines. This is the ability awakened by the Doflamingo thread fruit, and even the entire palace has a tendency to become thinner for a while. However, before Doflamingo could attack Bai Ye, Yoruichi Shiro kicked Doflamingo in the abdomen, and there was a crisp sound of bone breaking. Doflamingo opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, which was mixed with several pieces of internal organs. His body went limp and he collapsed on the ground like a ball of mud. The countless thin lines that were originally fluttering in the wind all stopped. If Bai Ye hadn't restrained his kick just now, he could have even kicked Doflamingo's body in half. This is the world of pirates, and only a strong man of Doflamingo's level could endure such serious injuries without dying suddenly on the spot. You took action just now and killed 3 of your men. 3 gunshots rang out one after another, and only 4 senior cadres were left alive. You still have 5 seconds to think. Bai Ye reminded him coldly. Doflamingo stared at Bai Ye closely at this moment, as if he wanted to remember Bai Ye's face in his heart. It seems that only from now on can he truly understand Bai Ye. As a marine, what he did was even more cruel than some pirates. Even a smile not far away was shocked by Bai Ye's behavior. Smile and ask yourself, I am not a bad person, and the evil things done by the Don Quixote family in the kingdom of Dracarosal. Even killing them all 10 times would be enough. But Bai Ye's ruthless behavior really couldn't be combined with Yishao's gentle demeanor that Bai Ye had shown before. In fact, Bai Ye made such a choice because of his own considerations. He doesn't mind knowing his true appearance with a smile. Because as long as Yishao is willing to become his subordinate, he will see this scene one day. Rather than letting him struggle at that time, might as well let him make a clear decision now. When Bai Ye gathered his thoughts and prepared to call out the next number, Doflamingo finally didn't want to watch them die in front of his eyes. I admit it. I admit that Virgo is the spy first sent to Marine many years ago. Very good. If only you had cooperated like this earlier, so many people wouldn't have to die. Bai Ye put away the image phone bug, raised his hand, and the remaining 4 senior cadres were executed at the same time. Doflamingo did not expect that after he confessed Virgo, Bai Ye would still kill the remaining 4 people. White Knight. At this time, Doflamingo looked at Bai Ye, his eyes were splitting, and he wanted to eat his flesh raw. He couldn't stand, so he crawled towards Bai Ye using his hands and feet. Even with his mouth, he wanted to tear off a piece of flesh from Bai Ye's body. Bai Ye directly kicked Doflamingo away and said nonchalantly, "Stop yelling, it's good that I didn't kill you, and I kept my promise. These are all my people. If you continue to act like a scumbag to me, believe it or not, I will throw you into the sea directly, and I will say that you jumped into the sea out of fear of crime." When Doflamingo heard this, he immediately became furious and blood and money flowed out of his mouth. He had been seriously injured, but he couldn't hold on anymore. He rolled his eyes and passed out. Get a deputy Halushi handcuffs and put them on him. If he still makes a fuss, do as I say. After saying this, Bai Ye rubbed his chin and suddenly felt that he had the talent to be a villain. If this was a villain system, with my own ability, I would be able to clear the system in a matter of minutes. Bai Ye came to Yishao and turned into the gentle look before, "Mr. Yishao, it's time to uncover the true face of the kingdom of Draken Lothar." Yishao was confused by Bai Ye's quick changing temperament. Which one is the real White Knight? Is he looking gentle and elegant, or is he looking as ferocious as before? As the two walked on the road, the atmosphere seemed relatively silent. After all, Bai Ye's actions had a relatively big impact on Yishao. Just now, it was because Yishao's status was not suitable to remind Bai Ye, otherwise he would definitely stop Bai Ye's behavior. Bai Ye looked at Yishao's thoughtful look and broke the silence. "Mr. Yishao, are you still worried about what happened just now?" Yishao is also a real person and does not deny it. "I was just thinking that as Lieutenant General Bai Ye, there is really no need to do such a thing. It seems that Lieutenant General Byakuya is the big pirate who does all kinds of evil, while Doflamingo is an ordinary person who is oppressed." Quote. Bai Ye smiled and said, "Mr. Yishao, you also said that this is just a look. But in fact, my identity is still the righteous Lieutenant General Marine, while Doflamingo is the great pirate who has done all kinds of bad things." Quote. But, Yishao was about to speak, but was interrupted by Bai Ye. "Mr. Yishao, do you think the Don Quixote family should die for the evil deeds they committed in the kingdom of Dracarosa?" "Damn it," Yishao said without any hesitation. Who did Doflamingo kill? Good people. Who did I kill? Bad guy. Then now I kill bad guys, but you think what I did is wrong, what's the point? Yi Xiao remained silent for a long time and said silently, it really doesn't make sense. Isn't that enough? Compared to the crimes they committed against the people of the kingdom of Drake and Rosa, my behavior is at most a retaliation for the way they were treated. Let Doflamingo also experience what ordinary people feel when they face despair. If Doflamingo and I were in the same situation today, I'm not sure he would do it better than me, but I know that his methods would definitely be much more ruthless than mine. Quote. Smiling and nodding slowly, he felt that what Bai Ye said was not unreasonable. After all, Bai Ye just treats Doflamingo the same way Doflamingo treats ordinary people. If I even object to this, wouldn't I be sympathizing with Doflamingo? But does Doflamingo deserve sympathy? Obviously, not worth it at all. The only people who truly deserve sympathy are those at the bottom who are suffering. Bai Ye looked up at the rising sun. The bright sunlight shone on him, seeming to cover it with a layer of gold. The white cloak of justice behind him moved with the wind, and he said slowly. As the saying goes, evil people have their own trials and tribulations. If no other marine is willing to be this evil person, then I will do my part to become this evil person. Yi Xiao looked at Bai Ye's voice. For some reason, I could only rely on seeing and hearing the domineering smile to form a vague picture in my mind. At this moment, it seemed as if I saw an extremely clear picture with my eyes. In the picture, Bai Ye is wearing a white marine uniform and seems to be in a golden ocean, with his whole body filled with warm golden light. But the word justice behind him was not white, but as black as ink, which seemed incompatible with the surrounding environment. On the dark word, justice, it seems that you can see countless cruel pirates being tortured. You can even see scenes of Tianlong people being executed in the same way. In the end, justice suddenly transformed into a huge word fairness, and the black light that bloomed even swallowed up all the golden light. This scene shocked Yixia greatly. Yi Xiao's closed eyes suddenly flashed with a black light. At this moment, he understood. He really understood why Bai Ye did all this. Rather than saying that Bai Ye is carrying Marine's justice, it is better to say that he is carrying the other side of Marine's justice. Of course, this side is not like the pirates who burn, kill, loot and commit all kinds of evil. Instead, he takes on things that Marine's justice does not allow. Just like Doflamingo, being a Shichibukai is not within Marine's jurisdiction. But Bai Ye was willing to risk the world and not only uprooted the Don Quixote family, but even beat Doflamingo half to death, without any scruples at all. Even the world noble Tianlong people, who are the most unfair in the sea but few people dare to mention them, are also burdened with justice by Bai Ye. It was hard to imagine with a smile how much perseverance and determination the young man in front of him had to do these things. Thinking of the scene of Tianlong people being executed, I felt my whole body trembling when I smiled. This is not a feeling of fear that makes the body tremble, but a sense of identity coming from the depths of the soul. It was only now that Yi Xiao discovered from Bai Ye what belief he wanted to pursue in his life. Fair. Fair. What's more, it's fair. With a smile, he bowed his hands to Bai Ye and said, Lieutenant General Bai Ye, it's all because I was too short-sighted in the past, so I felt that your actions were inappropriate. Until just now, I finally understood how the justice you carry is different from other Marines. And this kind of justice is exactly what I have been pursuing for many years. Therefore, I hope Lieutenant General Bai Ye can forgive me for my previous mistakes and allow me to become your subordinate and pursue true justice with you. Bai Ye was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that Yi Xiao would directly say that he was willing to become his subordinate. The effect is too good. Before, Bai Ye was thinking about how to trick Yi Xiao into willingly becoming Ji's subordinate. Then Bai Ye thought that although Yi Xiao could not see, his domineering aura of seeing and hearing was extremely strong, and he could vaguely perceive everything around him. Therefore, Bai Ye prepared to work hard on seeing and hearing the domineering power. Directly spend 7,500 points of world source power to raise the hegemony of seeing and hearing to the full level. At the same time, Bai Ye also triggered the ultimate effect of seeing and hearing color domineering. Moreover, these four are different from Katakori's ability to predict the future, Yixia's ability to perceive things, Enel's super range, and Roger's ability to listen to the voices of all things. Information Haki, full, special skill, Genjutsu. The word Genjutsu is simple and easy to understand. Byakuya can use his domineering power to silently blur other people's perceptions, and even change the pictures they see and the sounds they hear. For a person like Yi Xiao who is also at the top level in terms of knowledge, sex, and domineering, Bai Ye can only induce him to a certain extent. It doesn't make Yi Xiao completely immersed in his genjutsu. But this is enough for Bai Ye. He just slightly changed the scene he thought about, quietly affecting Yi Xiao's perception, allowing Yi Xiao to clearly see the picture he wanted. When Yi Xiao had no defense, seeing such a half-truth and half-false scene directly made him understand what he was pursuing in his life. So after he came to his senses, he would be willing to join Marine and become Bai Ye's subordinate to realize the ideal he is pursuing now. Bai Ye quickly helped Yi Xiao up and said happily, Mr. Yi Xiao, it's great if you can understand me. Then starting today, we will fight for true justice together in Marine. Chapter 157 The End. Bai Yoruichi arrived outside the courtyard not far from the palace. Living inside are the tool men Doflamingo uses to control the entire kingdom of Dressrosa. Paramesh, a childlike fruit ability user, sugar. As long as the sugar is eliminated, all the toys in the kingdom of Drake and Lothar can be restored to normal human bodies. And can also restore their forgotten memories of toys. Bai Ye pushed the door gently, and the door crashed to the ground, and he entered the courtyard with Yishao. Other soldiers surrounded the entire courtyard to prevent anyone from escaping in the chaos. The yard is not small and well decorated. There is a fountain in the center that sprays water droplets outwards. You can even vaguely see the appearance of a rainbow, which is very beautiful. It can be seen that Doflamingo treats its members quite well and gives Sudang the best living environment. But these things are based on countless people suffering unimaginable pain. Who are you? Seeing Marine intruding, more than 50 guards responsible for protecting Sugar quickly surrounded Bai Ye and Yishao. A little girl walked out from the crowd wearing a Madara dotted dress. At the Kadri Tower, she wore a bear-shaped shawl with a crown, a unilateral spectacles on her left eye, and a girl's haircut. There are plump purple grapes stuck on 10 fingers, and he bites off a grape from time to time. His mouth is bulging, and he looks very cute. To describe her appearance as lowly is to overestimate her. Sugar looked at Bai Ye and Yishao with big eyes, and muttered, "What's going on, young master? You actually let Marine enter my yard." Then, Sugar put his hands on his hips, leaned forward slightly, and shouted sweetly. "Hey, don't you know it's wrong to break into a little girl's home without permission? The ability of the childlike fruit is to turn the person it comes into contact with into the toy that the person with the ability wants, and the body will be controlled by Sugar and a contract will be made. The ability is extremely abnormal and quite practical. But its side effects are not weak either. The moment a person with abilities takes the fruit, his body will stop growing. In other words, that is how old you are when you take the childlike fruit, and you will remain the same age. How can this side effect be called a side effect in the eyes of a girl? She is probably eager to get this kind of side effect. It's a pity that Sugar was only 10 years old when she took the Tongshu fruit. Now Sugar is obviously 20 years old, but he has always maintained the appearance and figure of a 10-year-old. Bai Ye sneered, "It's wrong to break into a little girl's house, but there's nothing wrong with breaking into the house of a 20-year-old pirate. Aren't you looking for Doflamingo? Well, isn't he right here?" Quote. Bai Yoruichi waved, and the soldiers outside the door pulled the unconscious Doflamingo in like a dead dog. Little Lord. The sound made by Sugar was so harsh that even Bai Ye couldn't help but frown. Sugar asked, "You Marines actually dare to take action against young master? Aren't you afraid of being held accountable by the world government? After you remove the fruit's ability, I'm afraid we, Marine, will no longer be the ones held accountable by the world government." Sugar secretly thought something was wrong. The Marine in front of him should know everything. He immediately ordered, "Do it. Take down Marine." The bodyguards left by Doflamingo Mingay to Sugar are all loyal and powerful subordinates to the Don Quixote family. After all, the importance of Sugar to Doflamingo can even be ranked first among all senior cadres. More than 50 guards heard the order, weapons in hand, ready to charge towards Bai Ye. But before they could take a step, an unimaginable gravity pressed on them. As a result, more than 50 guards were all pressed to the ground. No matter how they struggled, they could only be pinned in place. In fact, Sugar also understood that the Marine in front of him was able to capture the young master, and his strength was beyond what these guards could handle. But she is also treating a dead horse as a living horse doctor, and there is no other better way. After seeing that all the guards were eliminated, Sugar pretended to be weak, with a pleading look on her young face, and said pitifully. "Actually, I was blackmailed by Doflamingo before I agreed to help him control the people of Dressrosa Kingdom." Bai Ye said with a faint smile, "According to you, the culprit is Doflamingo, and it has nothing to do with you." Sugar nodded desperately. Yes, you can see that I am a kind little girl just by looking at me. How could I possibly do such a thing with my own strength?" Quote. "If that's the case, let me ask you, what do you need to do to remove your fruit ability?" Sugar's black grape-like eyes moved flexibly, and she responded with a childish voice. "You only need to use a powerful person as a medium to remove the abilities of all toys at the same time." Maybe he was afraid that Bai Ye wouldn't believe it, so Sugar continued to explain, "At the beginning, I used the young master as a medium to turn most people into toys at the same time." Bai Ye smiled and asked, "Then do you think it's appropriate to use me as a medium?" Sugar thought for a moment and said hesitantly, "You are the strongest among these Marines, so it should be suitable." "Okay. Then it's me." Bai Ye walked straight towards Sugar. "Lieutenant General Bai Ye." Yishao sensed the malice coming from Sugar and knew that this little girl might have bad intentions. "Don't worry, Mr. Yishao, I naturally know what's going on." Bai Ye came to Sartang, looked at the 10-year-old little loli in front of her, and said calmly, "Then prepare to remove your abilities now." Sartang nodded. Obediently, with an imperceptible glint flashing in his eyes, and took off the special gloves on his hands, revealing a pair of white and fat little hands. Sugar put her little hand on Bai Ye's hand, with a smile of success on her lips, and directly activated the fruit's ability. In her opinion, as long as Bai Ye is turned into a toy, she can use Bai Ye's life to blackmail Marine into releasing the young master. As long as the young master does not die, there is hope for the Don Quixote family to rise again. However, a few seconds later, Bai Ye, who was supposed to be turned into a toy, was still standing in front of him intact. Bai Ye lowered his head to meet Sugar's surprised gaze and said scornfully, "Are you surprised why you didn't turn me into a toy?" Grand Tang was shocked when he heard this. He quickly pulled his little hand back and turned around to run away. However, Shiro Yoruichi grabbed him by the neck and lifted him up. Sugar waved her hands and feet desperately, struggling constantly, but due to the limitations of her 10-year-old body, she was completely unable to touch Bai Ye. Bai Ye said indifferently, "I originally wanted to give you a chance. As long as you remove the fruit's ability honestly, I will at most send you to the Impel City. I didn't expect you to dare to play tricks on me. I'm sorry, but you risked your life yourself. By the way, let me tell you a secret before I die. I also killed your sister Monet." Quote. After hearing this, Sugar's eyes widened, hatred and fear intertwined on his red face, and he struggled harder and harder. After saying that, Bai Ye used a gentle force with his palm to directly break Sutang's neck. At the same time, as the sugar dies, the fruit's ability is naturally released. The tens of thousands of people who had been turned into toys by Sugar in the entire kingdom of Dressrosa all recovered their human bodies. Those who were not turned into toys recovered their memories of those who were turned into toys. For a moment, the entire kingdom of Dressrosa erupted with a shocking sound, and various sounds mixed together. The cries of finally being recognized by his family, the abuse of Doflamingo, the denunciation of the Don Quixote family, etc. There are countless such voices. Bai Ye let go, and Su Tang's body collapsed on the ground, his eyes widened, and his face was full of resentment. In fact, Bai Ye didn't want to kill Sugar directly because he didn't want to attack a little girl who looked only 10 years old. So he gave her a chance even though he knew the real ability of Sanduo. But Sugar didn't cherish it, and instead used it to prepare to turn Bai Ye into a toy. However, little did he know that Bai Ye's skin had already been blocked by the constant flow of armed domineering force. That's why once her fruit ability was activated, it had no effect. Instead, Bai Ye strengthened his determination to kill her. Listening to the noisy sounds outside, Bai Ye raised his head slightly, squinted his eyes and looked into the air, muttering, "It's time to end." However, Morgans, who was in midair, was frightened half to death by Bai Ye's sight, and almost dropped the image bug in his hand. Morgans said with some guilt, "This guy won't find me, right? Should I run away?" As Morgans, who started recording after leaving the night organization, he clearly understood how cruel the young Lieutenant General Marine below was. In less than half a day, only the half-dead Doflamingo was left in the huge Don Quixote family. The other dozen or so senior cadres were basically executed on the spot by the Marine. This level of ferocity made Morgans feel frightened in midair. However, when Morgans was frightened, a soldier stepped forward to report to Bai Ye, interrupting Bai Ye's gaze in the air. This made Morgans call it a fluke. Commander of White Knight Base, the citizens of the Kingdom of Dressrosa, led by the former King Riku, are coming to the palace, saying they want revenge on Doflamingo. Revenge. It's better to die. Bai Ye shook his head helplessly, take the corpses of all the cadres of the Don Quixote family and go see them. On the other side, the former King Riku and his son-in-law Cyrus led tens of thousands of people on the mountain road leading to the palace. At this moment, they were so angry that they wanted to tear Doflamingo apart with their hands. However, King Riku and Cyrus showed great concern and seemed very complicated. They all know that although there are many people on their side, there is no difference between more and less people in front of a strong man of Doflamingo's level. But everyone's hatred towards Doflamingo has accumulated to a climax in the past few years. If they are not allowed to be released, it may cause other unexpected consequences. And this time they suddenly regained their bodies, it must be related to Marine who came to the island before. So the two chose to stand up and lead the people. After all, King Riku was the former king of the joining country. In front of Marine, the words are more convincing than those of other civilians. However, when they reached the halfway point, they were stopped by more than 200 Marines armed with weapons. The leading soldier said coldly, "No one can pass through this road without the order of Bai Ye base commander." Marine's sudden obstruction was undoubtedly arousing the anger of the people, because when Doflamingo was doing evil in the kingdom of Dressrosa, they had also reported it to Marine. But the Marine they reflect as Virgo. Virgo directly suppressed all the unfavorable news about Doflamingo. That's why their response to Marine fell into disarray and they couldn't get any response. This also led to Doflamingo becoming more and more unscrupulous and doing whatever he wanted. Because this incident inherently makes them have less trust in Marine. In addition, now they want to go up the mountain to seek revenge against Doflamingo, but they are blocked by Marine. In their eyes, Doflamingo and Marine are the same. Marine stopped them here just to protect Doflamingo. At that time, someone shouted angrily, "Brothers, take action directly. Anyone who dares to stop us from going up the mountain is our enemy." Yes, Marine and Doflamingo are definitely on the same team. We should not expect Marine to help us uphold justice. We must rely on our own strength to obtain an explanation. Quote. Seeing tens of thousands of people rioting collectively, they are about to attack the Marine soldiers. However, there were only about 200 Marine soldiers. Instead of retreating, they raised their guns at the rioting people at the same time. For these marine soldiers, they will only obey the orders of the White Knight base commander. No one can pass here without Bai Ye's order. Moreover, the marine soldiers in the New World are much stronger than the soldiers in the first half of the Grand Line. After all, no matter which pirate they faced was placed in the first half, they all had quite a reputation. Although they may not be able to stop all the tens of thousands of people, there is still no problem in killing a few thousand people. Seeing the marine soldier raising his gun, the conflict between the two sides intensified again. Just when it was about to get out of hand, two voices sounded from both sides at the same time. Everyone, calm down. Don't attack Marine under any circumstances. Put down all the guns. The first voice belonged to King Liku, and the second voice belonged to Bai Ye and Yishao, who arrived just in time. As the previous king, King Riku lost his position as king because he was framed by Doflamingo and was abandoned by the people of the country. So after learning what Doflamingo had done, the people felt a little guilty about King Riku. They calmed down a little when King Liku came out to call for a halt. Seeing that the citizens stopped, King Liku breathed a sigh of relief. If a conflict does break out, the consequences will be unbearable for both parties. And the extremely young marine general in front of him should be the commander of Bai Ye base, as they call him. However, before King Riku could speak first, he heard Bai Yahan say, "King Riku, you should know what the crime of attacking marine without permission is, right?" This. King Riku was stunned. Of course he knew what the crime was. Attacking marine without authorization would lead to him being imprisoned for several years at the least. If it was more serious, it would not be an exaggeration to even be killed by marine on the spot. He did not expect that the seemingly young Lieutenant General Marine in front of him would grasp him tightly as soon as he opened his mouth. Hearing Bai Ye's unkind tone, Cyrus said angrily, "You Marines and Doflamingo colluded together to persecute the alliance countries. Isn't this also illegal?" Bai Ye looked at Cyrus coldly. "Do you have any evidence?" Cyrus was immediately speechless. Even Bai Ye paid the price of Doflamingo's life in order to obtain evidence that Virgo was a traitor. King Liku and others don't even know who Virgo is, let alone the evidence. Tens of thousands of people who were originally furious and wanted to take revenge were directly stopped by Bai Ye's two words, and their momentum reached freezing point. King Riku knew that the marine general in front of him was not someone to be trifled with. He cleared his mind and said slowly, "Lieutenant General Byakuya, do you understand the harm Doflamingo has caused to the people of our country?" Bai Ye took out the document from his arms and threw it to King Liku. "I know very well that Marine is here to solve this matter." King Liku picked up the document and opened it. The things recorded on it were even more detailed than he knew. It can be seen that Marine did some careful investigation before coming here. King Riku asked, "Then I wonder how you Marine are going to handle this matter." This issue is not only of concern to King Riku, but also to the tens of thousands of people present who have been harmed by Doflamingo. What they feared the most was that with the identity of Doflamingo Shichibukai, even if Marine arrested him, he might be acquitted later. By that time, Doflamingo will definitely choose to take revenge on the kingdom of Dressrosa. And they can't bear such pain again. Bai Ye asked back, "How do you want us, Marine, to deal with it?" King Riku took a deep breath. At this time, he was burdened with the hatred of millions of people, and said in an extremely firm tone, "First want Marine to give us a clear explanation for the kingdom of Dressrosa." Explanation. Do you think this explanation is enough? Bai Ye chuckled lightly and clapped his hands. A dozen soldiers came out from the rear, each dragging the body of a senior member of the Don Quixote family and placing it in front of everyone. Looking at the dozens of corpses in front of him, King Liku was stunned and said, "This is Sugar, Pika, Senior PK." Almost all the senior cadres he remembered and could name were lying in front of him at the moment. Bai Ye continued, "Torbal and Diamante died in my hands half a year ago. And Doflamingo." With that said, Doflamingo, who had fallen into a coma, was dragged up again like a dead dog. This guy can't be killed yet. He needs to undergo the final trial before he can make a decision. But don't worry, he will at least end up dying of old age in the Dark Impel City. Quote. It wasn't until they saw the tragic situation of Doflamingo that King Riku and his citizens finally understood why Marine came here. They thought that even if Marine came to capture Doflamingo, he would at best take everyone away alive. Unexpectedly, the young Lieutenant General Marine in front of him would be so ruthless. Directly wipe out all the Don Quixote family except Doflamingo. Even looking at Doflamingo's miserable state, they even felt that it would be better for Doflamingo to just die if he were alive like this. At least you don't have to suffer so much. After everyone had enough of it, Bai Ye asked people to drag Doflamingo down to avoid causing King Riku and others to get too excited. At that time, I proposed to abolish the Shichibukai system. I can no longer continue to watch evil pirates enjoy their legal status and do those inhumane things. Morgans in midair murmured, "Crazy, crazy, this Marine Lieutenant General is absolutely crazy." At this moment, King Liku and others seemed a little at a loss. Because Marine also has his own negligence. However, at this time, Bai Ye didn't realize that the old man in front of him really wanted to call him grandpa. Byakuya stood up and faced tens of thousands of people with a determined expression. 6 months ago, all the evil deeds Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai, committed in the kingdom of Alabasta were exposed. King Liku said excitedly, "But I am really grateful to you. You are the great benefactors of the kingdom of Dressrosa. You deserve my kneel. As he spoke, King Riku seemed to remember that he had a granddaughter, whose age seemed to be similar to that of Lieutenant General Marine in front of him. He can't wait. Did I give enough explanation? Therefore, today I make an oath in front of tens of thousands of you. If the images recorded today are made public, the entire ocean will fall into unprecedented chaos. When Bai Ye finished speaking, the whole place was silent. At this time, he looked at the image bug in his hand and felt the trembling deep in his soul. Bai Ye's move undoubtedly shocked everyone present. After Bai Ye finished speaking, he bowed deeply to King Liku and the tens of thousands of people in front of him, with a smile, and more than 200 soldiers bowed at the same time. King Riku, who was over 60 years old, knelt down to Bai Ye in front of everyone. Not only him, tens of thousands of people were also excited. That's why you have suffered for so many years and have not been liberated until today. Quote. They didn't expect that Lieutenant General Marine, who seemed domineering and cold when they first met, would bow and apologize to them. I, the base commander of the G5 branch, Lieutenant General Byakuya of the Marine headquarters, will do my best to fight for the abolition of the Shichibukai system. All of them knew the meaning behind Bai Ye's words. But I encountered many obstacles, so I stopped persisting. Actually, Marine is not your benefactor in this matter. They were all suppressed by the spies Doflamingo planted in Marine. But when he was halfway kneeling, he was held firmly by Bai Ye. You report everything about Doflamingo to Marine. But today, when I once again saw Doflamingo, one of the Shichibukai, committing more serious crimes in the kingdom of Dressrosa. Bai Ye smiled and said, you are old enough to be my grandfather, but it is not appropriate to kneel to me. Enough. Enough. This is really enough. Let the people of all participating countries no longer have to worry about being persecuted by Shichibukai. Quote. King Liku was so excited that he was a little incoherent. He suddenly began to think that it would be a good choice to make the Marine Lieutenant General in front of him his grandson-in-law. Byakuya will use his own efforts to abolish Shichibukai recognized by the world government. Chapter 158 Brainwashing and Warring States period. Advertise here. The next day, a video was attached to the newspaper as World News released it to the sea. The whole sea shook. This video was recorded from the Night Organization's attack on the Don Quixote family. It clearly shows the entire Don Quixote family, together with Doflamingo, didn't even survive a single move under Ye's hands, and were directly destroyed. Then the scene changed. On Marine's side, Lieutenant General Bai Ye took his men to the island and clashed with the Ye organization. Although Bai Ye did not capture anyone in Ye's organization, his courage to attack Ye and the terrifying power of the sword proved his strength and courage. It even wiped away all the suspicions on Bai Ye. From now on, no one will doubt that Bai Ye is related to the Night Organization. As for the Night Organization's action of not taking action against Bai Ye, there was no controversy about this. Because since the Night Organization became famous in the sea, there has never been any news of killing Marine. Therefore, this has also led to the fact that within Marine, the voice against the Night Organization has not been loud. I even think it's quite good to have an organization like the Night Organization that only targets pirates. At least it saves Marine a lot of trouble. However, with the departure of the Night Organization, the whole Dressrosa thing reached a climax. Lieutenant General White Knight killed all the cadres of the Don Quixote family except Doflamingo. When the last and most hidden senior cadre died, Morgans deliberately flew to a high point and used a wide angle to cover most of the kingdom of Dressrosa within the image range. I saw all the lively and cute toys on the street, all restored to human form at the same time. You can even hear in the image the sounds of joy that they finally regained their bodies, as well as the sounds of accusations against Doflamingo. In other words, the toys in the kingdom of Dressrosa, known as the Land of Love, Passion and Toys, are actually toys transformed by real citizens through their fruit abilities. In addition, the world government used Doflamingo and the kingdom of Dressrosa as positive cases to persuade other participating countries. Now it is confirmed that the beauty and peace that the kingdom of Dressrosa seems to have been all forged by Doflamingo. The real kingdom of Dressrosa lived in misery under the tyrant rule of Doflamingo. This undoubtedly throws the face of the world government to the ground and tramples on it several times. Immediately afterwards, Marine Lieutenant General Bai Ye gave his explanation in front of the former King Riku and tens of thousands of citizens. The corpses of senior officials of the Don Quixote family, whose bounties combined amounted to hundreds of millions of berry. And he apologized as Marine and said those shocking words, which shocked countless people's jaws. This concludes the image. Although the image duration was not long, the information conveyed in it caused the sea to tremble like never before. Hundreds of participating countries have spoken out in support of Lieutenant General Byakuya and are determined to abolish the Shichibukai system. And Bai Ye's words to force the world government to go to the palace have pushed him to the forefront. On the sea, there are countless people discussing topics related to the White Knight at all times. But what Bai Ye didn't expect was that it was the sword in his image that caught the attention of Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. I didn't expect that there would be such a powerful swordsman among the Marines. It's really surprising. A small boat that looks like a coffin board sails alone from the East China Sea to the New World. However, at this time, Bai Ye had returned to the G5 branch, sitting alone in the office, smiling happily. Anyone who sees the domineering and cold Lieutenant General Bai Ye shown in the image smiling like a fool at this moment will be shocked. But Bai Ye didn't care so much. What happened to the silly smile? If a silly smile can bring so much world power, then I would rather giggle every day. As the video was broadcast, Bai Ye's reputation was rising like a rocket. Congratulations to the host for achieving the reputation achievement, becoming famous for a while, and being rewarded with world source power, 5,000 points. Congratulations to the host for achieving the reputation achievement, famous, rewarded with world source power, 10,000 points. Congratulations to the host for successfully changing the plot points, the Straw Hat Pirates' first visit to Punk Hassad, the alliance between the Straw Hat Pirates and the Heart Pirates, Luffy defeats Doflamingo, etc., and the reward is world source power, 30,000 points. Congratulations to the host for being recognized by the Marine General, Fujitora, in the original work and being rewarded with 15,000 world power points. This series of system prompts simply made Bai Ye smile from ear to ear. A total of 60,000 points of world source power were harvested, which was considered a considerable amount of income. World source power. 61,000. The originally poor Shiro Yoruichi suddenly became rich. But Bai Yoruichi thinks that if he wants to increase the fusion degree by 10 points again, he still needs close to 5,000 points of world source power. Because the good mood of harvesting a lot of world power was gone in an instant. As the degree of integration increases, the demand for world source power increases. Bai Ye couldn't help but sigh, the road to 100% still has a long way to go. With the change of plot points in Bai Yoruichi Road, up to now, basically the larger plot points have been changed. The only remaining plots that are not involved are the war on top and the country of Wano. Currently, there are not many ways for Bai Ye to obtain a large amount of world source power. Without going on a mass killing spree, there are only 3 paths to gain a lot of world source power. 1. Upgrade the marine level. When you become a general or even a marine fleet admiral, you will definitely gain a lot of world power. 2. Increase your reputation level and continue to do things as Bai Ye to enhance your reputation on the sea. 3rd, the target is placed on the artificial devil fruit created by Caesar or the devil fruit collected. Now the production line on the empty island has just been set up, and the number produced per month is less than 15, which is not half as good as the one produced in Punk Hassad. On the contrary, the Knight organization obtained 3 devil fruits from Doflamingo during this attack on the Don Quixote family, and they are waiting for Bai Ye to deal with them. At this time, Bai Ye suddenly remembered that the 3 knocked unconscious revolutionary troops that Lu Chi mentioned to him were temporarily imprisoned on the empty island and were also waiting for Bai Ye to deal with them. Byakuya wondered whether he should use these 3 revolutionary soldiers to contact Luffy's father, the leader of the revolutionary army, Drago. Maybe you can also get a lot of world source power. While Bai Ye was thinking, the phone on the table suddenly rang, and when he picked it up, he heard the heartbroken voice of Warring States. Bai Ye, you are confused. Bai Ye rubbed his nose, leaned back, put his legs on the table, and said nonchalantly, didn't I kill Doflamingo? Sengoku said angrily, yes, you didn't kill Doflamingo. But compared to the impact of what you finally said in front of everyone, you might as well just kill Doflamingo. Quote. Doflamingo is still in the branch prison. How about I kill him and save you a trip in vain? You bastard, do you want to piss me off to death? Warring States on the other end of the phone puffed his beard and glared, roaring so loudly that even the soldiers outside the door could clearly hear it. The soldier thought to himself, was Warring States Fleet Admiral on the phone with Lieutenant General Garp? Otherwise, why would he be so angry? I have asked Staff Officer He and Momoshiki to go to the G5 branch. First, Doflamingo will be brought back to the Marine headquarters for trial, and then imprisoned in Impel Down City. You kid, don't be stupid and kill Doflamingo. If it hadn't been for your uncle and me to protect you this time, your position as Lieutenant General would have been dismissed. Do you know how many calls 5 elders has called me since this morning? Warring States was really angry at this time. Originally, when this matter gradually fermented, all major participating countries would submit opinions to the world government and request the abolition of the Shichibukai system. Marine just needs to watch the excitement from behind and finally show that he agrees to abolish the Shichibukai system. But Bai Ye said those words in front of the public. It seemed to be his own declaration, but in the eyes of the 5 elders, it was Marine's attitude. Now Marine has taken the main pressure to abolish the Shichibukai system, and the major franchise countries only need to wave their flags and cheer from behind. Most importantly, this is the first time Marine has publicly challenged the world government's decision. One can imagine how serious the impact of this incident was, and how miserable Warring States was scolded by the 5 elders. Warring States thought that his words would wake up Bai Ye and realize that there was something wrong with what he said. However, Bai Ye's answer almost made Seng Guo angry to death on the spot. Bai Ye said with emotion, Uncle Warring States, you are still too cowardly. I'm scared. Warring States was so angry that his beard stood up. Uncle Sengoku, let me ask you, who came up with the Shichibukai system? World government. Every time there is a problem with Shichibukai, who bears the blame? And who solves it? Sengoku was stunned for a moment and said slowly, it's Marine. Yes, the world government makes decisions with its butt, and every time something goes wrong, we, Marine, are there to wipe their butt and bear the blame. After many times, we feel that this system is not suitable, and the world government still thinks that we are doing too much trouble. Do you think this is how things are done? Warring states remain silent. Bai Ye's words do make sense, but if you look into the meaning carefully, it will be shocking. Bai Ye, I understand what you mean. But the amount of money our marine needs to spend every day is unimaginable, and these are all allocated by the world government, so that marine can sustain itself. Quote. The meaning of Sengoku's words was to let Bai Ye understand that without the support of the world government, the huge marine composed of millions of people might fall apart in a matter of seconds. So even if Sengoku was dissatisfied, in order for marine to survive, he could only turn a blind eye. But Uncle Warring states, have you ever thought about a question? Where does the money from world government come from? Warring states didn't understand why Bai Ye asked this, but he still replied, of course it's the heavenly gold provided by the major franchise countries every year. Then why do the major franchise countries have to hand over heavenly gold every year? Warring states subconsciously replied, if you want to become a member country and enjoy marine's protection, you naturally need to pay. It's not that he didn't know about these warring states periods, it's just that the education and ideas he had been exposed to since childhood would not have allowed him to have such thoughts. So he never thought about it. I just feel that marine belongs to the world government and relies on world government's funding to maintain its huge expenses, so it naturally needs to obey the world government's orders. But after Bai Ye's words, Warring states felt something wrong in his heart. Bai Ye was so thirsty that she drank a cup of Feijai happy water in one gulp, and then continued to brainwash warring states. Yes, the major franchise countries enjoy the protection of marine, so they will pay the heavenly fee. Marine sacrificed the lives of many soldiers and generals for this. However, hundreds of billions or even trillions of heavenly gold are turned in every year. How much of it is used on marine, and how much of it is used on world noble? The world government relies on marine to earn a huge amount of heavenly gold, and then only takes a small part of the heavenly gold, throws it to us marine, and treats us like dogs. Quote. The more Bai Ye talked, the angrier he became, thinking to himself, aren't these the most evil capitalists? Sure enough, no matter where in the world there is no shortage of such people. If it weren't for the current situation being inappropriate, Bai Ye would have been prepared to persuade warring states to rebel against world government. However, what Bai Ye said now only allowed warring states to be mentally prepared in advance. Warring states on the other end of the phone was silent for a long time, and Bai Ye's forward-thinking words had a huge impact on him. He wanted to argue, but he couldn't find any loopholes in Bai Ye's words. Because now marine is really like a dog in front of the world government. Once marine does not comply with the world government's wishes, military expenditures will be cut. Therefore, the warring states period had to compromise every time. Over the decades, the warring states period had become accustomed to it. After a long time, a helpless sigh came from the other end of the phone, and warring states smiled bitterly and said, I made this call because I wanted to scold you kid and tell you not to be too reckless in future things. But I never thought that as an uncle, I would be taught a lesson by my nephew. Quote. Bai Ye knew that going too far was not enough. The previous words alone were enough for warring states to digest for a long time, and it was not suitable to continue talking now. So, Bai Ye changed the subject and said, I already know who the traitor Doflamingo planted under me is. And I have someone here who wants to join marine, and I want him to take over the position of the traitor. What do you think? It's all up to you. Okay. Then I'll go get busy. Bai Ye hung up the phone without waiting for Seng Guo's reply. This made warring states on the other end of the phone stunned. He hung up the phone and stared at the word justice hanging on the wall. There was a bit of confusion in his eyes, and he murmured. Although what you said makes sense, it is difficult for me to overcome my original ideas and put them into action. Maybe after you become a Marine Fleet Admiral, Marine's waist will become stronger. Now, let me, an old man, support you for a while longer. Quote. Little did he know that Bai Ye also breathed a sigh of relief after hanging up the phone. He didn't expect that he would talk to Sengoku about this on this phone call. However, judging from the reaction of the warring states period, it seemed that it was not that intense. This was enough for Byakuya. In his opinion, as long as the warring states period is not opposed, it is support. Just let it go and do it yourself. After putting this matter aside, Bai Ye went to the prison of the branch. The prison in the marine branch is not like the prisons in movies and TV shows. It is dark and damp, and the air is filled with a disgusting rotten smell. On the contrary, it is extremely tidy, with torture instruments used for interrogation placed, sunlight can shine in, and soldiers clean it every day. This was Bai Ye's first time entering marine prison, and he was stunned as soon as he entered. The environment is so good, these prisoners are taking this vacation. It must be rectified in the future. Arriving at the prison, Bai Ye asked, how was the interrogation? Seeing the arrival of the White Knight, Ferguson, who was responsible for interrogating Virgo, reported with shame. Commander of White Knight Base, Virgo refuses to admit that he is a spy sent to Marine by Doflamingo. He insists that he is innocent. To be honest, during the interrogation process, Ferguson never imagined that Major General Virgo, who was usually approachable in front of them, would actually be a spy sent by Doflamingo. If Bai Ye hadn't personally confirmed this, he wouldn't have believed it even if he killed Ferguson. Don't admit it. This is in line with his character. Bai Ye was not surprised by this and came outside the prison where Virgo was being held. At this time, Virgo's body was covered with scars left during the interrogation. This was because he was a former major general, so everyone showed some mercy when they struck. If it were other pirates who fell into the hands of the G5 branch, it would be good to have one breath left after the interrogation. When Virgo saw Bai Ye, he feebly shouted, "Lieutenant General Bai Ye, Base Commander Bai Ye, I am innocent. I really have nothing to do with Doflamingo." Bai Ye chuckled and said, "Stop struggling, Doflamingo has admitted it, what's the use of resisting here?" "You say so, Ghost Bamboo." Quote. Virgo felt chilled when he heard Bai Ye directly call out his code name in the Don Quixote family. Only Doflamingo knew about this in the entire Don Quixote family. But now that Bai Ye called him out in front of him, it only proved that Doflamingo had indeed betrayed him to Bai Ye. This made Virgo feel bad. "Since you treat me like this, don't blame me for being unkind. Chief Bai, these must have been framed by Doflamingo deliberately. I was in the G5 branch before and had a conflict with Doflamingo, so he wanted to take revenge on me before he died." Bai Ye clapped his hands and praised, "What a wonderful show of dog-eating dog. It doesn't matter whether you admit it or not. Now that I say you are a traitor, you are a traitor. For Marines traitors, the punishment must be kept in everyone's mind." Ferguson asked tentatively, "Captain Bai, what do you mean?" Bai Ye said in a cold tone, "Break his limbs and hang them at the entrance of the base. I want everyone to know that the consequences of betraying Marine are life worse than death. This time, if Teacher Zephyr hadn't suddenly appeared and saved Ain and Dasky. Otherwise, even if he kills Virgo 100 times, it won't be enough to vent the hatred in Bai Ye's heart." Chapter 159. Are you teaching me how to do something? Advertise here. After dealing with a series of things about Virgo, Bai Ye went to look for Yishao. As a result, I saw Teacher Zephyr who happened to be smiling right here. As a former Marine general, Zephyr has been praised by many people for what he did on the sea. Yishao is one of them. Therefore, Yishao's tone when talking to Zephyr appeared to be more respectful. Zephyr was able to chat together because he had seen Yishao's strength and was full of praise for him. In addition, the age difference between the two was not much different. "Teacher Zephyr, Mr. Yishao." Zephyr turned around and saw Bai Ye and said with a smile, "Hey, isn't this General Bai Ye? Why do you have time to see us two old men?" Yishao on the side also smiled when he heard Zephyr's teasing tone. Since that image spread to the sea, Lieutenant General Bai Ye's name has completely spread across the sea. There are even some good people who call Bai Ye the fourth general of Marine. After all, he dared to take action against Yi, who had a bounty of 3.7 billion belly, and faced someone who could not fail in every move. In the entire sea, only general-level combat power has such qualifications. Therefore, it is not too much to call Bai Ye the fourth general. In addition, Sengoku, in order to build momentum for Byakuya, escaped from the ambush of the beast pirates alone. And the news of killing two of the beast pirates, Linkong Luzi, flying 6 cells, spread. In order to give Bai Ye enough warring states even transferred all the credit for Zephyr to Bai Ye. Zephyr not only had no complaints about this, but even applauded it with both hands. As a result, these two messages spread across the sea at the same time, making the name Bai Ye leave an impression in the hearts of countless people. So when the title of the fourth general spread, it aroused the approval of countless people. When Bai Ye heard the news, he felt very funny. "Well, I am the fifth emperor of the sea again. He is Marine's fourth general, and he is quite busy." Hearing what Zephyr called him, Bai Ye said helplessly, "Oh, teacher, please stop teasing me. How can I be a general now?" Zephyr smiled and said, "When you just graduated, you dared me to go to warring states to ask for the position of Marine Admiral, Marine Fleet Admiral. Why are you not as courageous as you were a year ago? With my current situation, how could the world government allow me to become Marine General?" Zephyr showed a mysterious smile. "You can't say it so early. Since that old fox from the warring states period wants to train you, he will definitely have a way to make you a Marine General. Among our group of Marines, he had the most clever ideas, otherwise he wouldn't have become the Marine Fleet Admiral." Quote. Bai Ye shrugged nonchalantly, "Then I'll just sit back and watch what Sengoku Fleet Admiral does." Then he turned to look at Yishao and said, "Mr. Yishao, there is only one Marine Major General position available here, so I can only wrong you." Yishao said indifferently, "First joined Marine not for the position, but to pursue my ideals. Besides, you can become a Marine Major General as soon as you enter the Marine Corps. This kind of treatment is not even available to Lieutenant General Byakuya." Quote. Bai Ye looked at Yishao's hearty smile and thought, compared to Yishao in the original work, he became a Marine General as soon as he joined Marine. Of course, the current situation cannot be compared with when Yishao first joined Marine in the original work. However, Major General Marine's position is indeed too low. Zephyr said dissatisfiedly, "With Yishao's strength, becoming a Marine General is not an exaggeration. Major General Marine is indeed too humble. Otherwise, I'll go discuss it with Sengoku, and we'll all have the entire Marine Lieutenant General." Quote. Bai Ye nodded in agreement, "Then teacher, I'll go with you." Yishao waved his hands and said, "Forget it, there is no need. I believe that with Lieutenant General Bai Ye's ability, it won't be long before he can become a Marine General, or even a Marine Fleet Admiral. By that time, my position will also become Marine Lieutenant General, Marine General, within a short period of time. Quote. Seeing a smile, Bai Ye and Zephyr stopped talking. The next day, noon. The escort ship responsible for escorting Doflamingo, headed by Marine Staff Officer Suru and Marine Lieutenant General Momosugi Gion, is about to arrive at the G5 branch. Zephyr also told Bai Ye and Yishao that he wanted to return to Marine headquarters. Teacher Zephyr, you have only been here for a few days and you have to leave. There's nothing I can do, that old guy from the Warring States period is pressing hard. Moreover, he was afraid that unexpected problems would arise during this escort, so he asked me to follow Suru and Kajin back to the Marine headquarters. Quote. Bai Ye smiled knowingly when he heard this. This was indeed the character of the Warring States Fleet Admiral. However, in the original work, unexpected surprises did occur when Doflamingo was escorted. Drought Jack is a man who can be called the flat-headed brother of the pirate world. Facing the 4 warships carrying Marine Admiral Fujitora, Fleet Admiral Sengoku, and Vice Admiral Suru, they still launched a suicide attack without hesitation and ended up sinking into the sea. If Jack himself didn't belong to the Fishmen clan, he would have become a corpse long ago. I just don't know if the beast pirates will choose to rob a ship again this time in order to obtain artificial devil fruit technology. Bai, Yishao, Ain and Dasky sent Zephyr to the gate of the base, and Ferguson escorted Doflamingo out who had woken up. When Doflamingo walked out of the branch base door wearing sea-floor stone handcuffs, he noticed a body hanging diagonally above. Although the body was covered with scars, after many days of exposure, only the general appearance could be seen, and the face could not be clearly seen at all. But Doflamingo relies on intuition and recognizes that the body is Virgo. This made Doflamingo feel a sense of sadness in his heart. He did not expect that Virgo's end would be so miserable. When the escort ship is about to arrive, Doflamingo's tone contained a rare hint of pleading, and he said to Bai Ye, "It is my order for Virgo to be placed in Marine." And apart from occasionally passing on information to me, he didn't do anything else out of the ordinary. What's more, he is dead now, and you can have him buried, even if he is thrown into the sea. Facing Doflamingo's plea, Bai Ye said in a disdainful tone, "Are you teaching me how to do things?" Doflamingo was extremely angry and said angrily, okay, you win this time. But as long as I don't die, one day I will kill you and hang you up too. Bai Ye nodded with satisfaction and kept patting Ferguson on the shoulder until he made Ferguson grin and then let him go. Under Zephyr's urging, the escort ship hurriedly embarked on its way back, which took less than a minute. Bai Ye watched the escort ship disappear from his sight in a short period of time, and couldn't help laughing and said, "The ship is going so fast, what's the matter? Can I still eat Doflamingo?" Doflamingo was also scared at this time. He was so angry just now that he dared to threaten Bai Ye. Even his steady smile was amused by Bai Ye and Ferguson's words. If Doflamingo dies at Byakuya's hands now, no matter how many clever ideas Sengoku has, it may be difficult to push Byakuya into the position of Marine Fleet Admiral. Something will happen if you stay any longer. Quote. However, after saying this, Ferguson regretted it and looked at Bai Ye carefully, with beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Do you believe that if you say one more thing, I will hang you and Virgo's body side by side right now? Seeing that Bai Ye really wanted to take action, Zephyr quickly grabbed Bai Ye and persuaded him, "Bai Ye, it's not worth killing Doflamingo. Do you think he has a chance to come out after entering the Impel City? Oh, you even threatened me. If you really treat me like a master, I wouldn't dare to kill you, right?" Ain and Dasky covered their mouths and snickered. Then he will never have a chance to make a comeback in the future. Zephyr ordered to the soldiers on the ship, "Now turn around and return to Marine headquarters." "I think you are right." While he and Zephyr were talking, Gion quietly looked towards the edge of the pier, seemingly looking for someone. Fortunately, the escort ship arrived at the dock quickly. Before Suru and Gion even got off the ship, they saw Zephyr grabbing Doflamingo, jumping up and landing on the ship. After all, it was the 5 elders who proposed to put Doflamingo on trial. Bai Ye turned to stare at Ferguson and asked coldly, "I didn't hear what you just said clearly. Please repeat it to me." "If Bai Ye is really angry, kill him now." Ferguson looked sad and said intermittently, I said I'm a bitch. The news that Virgo is the spy you planted in Marine was confirmed from your mouth. You were pretending to be like a White Lotus now. If Bai Ye gets angry, killing Doflamingo will be a small matter, but it will affect his career in the future. He is someone who has seen Bai Ye's cruel methods. Zephyr hurriedly said, "There's nothing interesting to see, he's just a brat with a bad temper. Let's go back to Marine headquarters as soon as possible." Crane and Gion, who had just walked out of the cabin, looked at Zephyr in surprise. In fact, not only Zephyr was afraid of something happening, but Doflamingo was also afraid. Bai Ye pointed at Doflamingo's nose and said scornfully. Zephyr couldn't help it, he also knew that his apprentice had a stubborn temper. Ferguson said quickly, "It's hard to say." Therefore, in order to prevent things from developing in an unfavorable direction, Zephyr quickly took Doflamingo away. Until he saw Bai Ye with a cold face, Gion seemed to have found his target, his eyes lit up, and he murmured in a low voice, I am actually colder than the image shows. It's really curious. Heshao asked, are you so anxious? Gion and I didn't even get off the ship. I still want to see the fourth general. Doflamingo also breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Zephyr taking him away from Bai Ye immediately. So for the slim chance of a comeback in the future, Doflamingo lowered his head without saying a word, no longer daring to look at Bai Ye. Chapter 160 Luffy Goes to Sea. Advertise here. The Grand Line, the Isle of White Earth, Baldigo. The entire island is covered with yellow sand and rocks, and everything you see is yellow, making it look extremely deserted. However, such an inconspicuous desert island is the base of the revolutionary army that the world government wants to kill at all costs. 20 meters underground, the hidden revolutionary army base is hidden here. Terry Gildio, the intelligence control officer of the Revolutionary Army base, held the latest newspaper in his hand and said sadly, there is still no news about Dorag, Sabo and the others. Dorag had short black hair, wore a dark green coat, and had a red square tattoo on the left side of his face. He said in a calm tone. We don't need to be too anxious. The lack of news may be a good thing. It means they have not fallen into the hands of Marine. Terry's anxiety continued as he listened to Dorag's words. But when Sabo and the others were trading arms with the Drake Rosa Kingdom, they happened to encounter Marine arresting Doflamingo. With the strength of the Marine Lieutenant General named Byakuya, Sabo and the three of them could not stop him at all. If they didn't fall into Marine's hands, how could there be no news within a week? Dorag shook his head slowly, a hint of unnoticeable worry flashing in his eyes. But it wasn't just Marine who went to the kingdom of Dressrosa that day, but also the Knight organization who arrived before Marine. Terry was surprised, you mean Sabo and the others fell into the hands of the Knight organization? Until their deaths are confirmed, I think this is the only answer. After hearing this, Terry could only sigh deeply. The mystery of the Knight organization is well known on the sea. If the Knight organization does not appear, almost no one will be able to find the traces of the Knight organization. The three of Sabo fell into the hands of the Knight organization, and I don't know whether it was a blessing or a curse. A week has passed since the Dressrosa incident, and Bai Ye has enjoyed a rare period of peace. After all, it started from causing trouble in all nations to capturing Doflamingo. In the past few days, Bai Ye had almost no leisure time, and he was always running around. Now, the affairs of the base are handled by Ferguson. If he encounters a powerful pirate, he can still act with a smile. Bai Ye only needs to be a hands-off shopkeeper and use his free time to happily guide Ain and Dasky. Don't be too happy in this little life. Doflamingo's interrogation also concluded during this time. The result of the trial was as follows. Doflamingo Shichibukai was deprived of his identity and imprisoned in Impel Castle. Bai Ye was not surprised when he learned the news. As long as Doflamingo clung to the news of the Celestial Dragon's secret treasure, his life could be saved no matter what. But what surprised Bai Ye was that when he learned the news, he heard Sengoku mention that world government was going to start a meeting with Marine. Discuss whether the Shichibukai system needs to be abolished. This is the first time that world government and Marine have sat together to discuss issues. As the main promoter of the abolition of the Shichibukai system, Byakuya was naturally asked to participate by the world government. In order to allow most senior Marine officers to attend this meeting. The time is set in 3 weeks, so that most people can rush back to Marine headquarters. 2 weeks later, Bai Ye and Yishao took the Jijo to the Marine headquarters to prepare for the meeting. Originally, Yishao's intention was to stay in the G5 branch to prevent the branch from being attacked by pirates. But he was rejected by Bai Ye. What Bai Ye promised Yishao at the beginning was that the two of them would work together to abolish the Shichibukai system. Now that a meeting is being held on whether to abolish the Shichibukai system, it is natural that both of them need to be present at the same time. As for the safety of the G5 branch, Bai Ye has given it to Enel's attention. If pirates really attack the G5 branch, the Knight organization can come forward to repel the pirates in advance. Under Bai Ye's persuasion, Yishao agreed to go to Marine headquarters with Bai Ye to attend the meeting. And long ago, some senior Marine officers who were far away from the Marine headquarters had already moved towards the Marine headquarters. After all, abolishing the Shichibukai system is not just Yoruichi's personal idea. And in the East China Sea, Windmill Village. As a Marine hero, Garp is about to embark on a voyage back to Marine headquarters. Originally, because his grandson Luffy was about to turn 18, Garp took a special leave to return to Windmill Village, hoping to teach Luffy to become a qualified Marine soldier. However, the day before Luffy was about to come of age, he received the news that he was going to attend a meeting. Because the journey was far, Garp had to choose to return immediately. There was not even time to stay for one more day. Before Garp said goodbye, he said seriously to Luffy, who was covered with hair, tomorrow, when you become an adult, you can officially sign up for Marine. Don't forget what I told you, even if you can't become a Marine like Shiro Yoruichi, you can never disgrace your grandfather and become a qualified Marine warrior. Quote. Garp has been mentioning Byakuya in Luffy's ears for the past month. He said that Bai Ye was such an excellent Marine, and he had already become a Marine Lieutenant General just 1 year after graduation. His strength is comparable to that of General Marine. And he was the next Marine Fleet Admiral chosen by that old guy from the Warring States period. After Luffy joins Marine, he must aim for Byakuya. Luffy, on the other hand, was very dissatisfied with Garp's words and muttered in a low voice with a dissatisfied look on his face, "I'm not a Marine. I want to be a one-piece man." But Luffy forgot that with his grandfather's strength, at such a close distance, no matter how quiet his voice was, he could still be heard clearly. Garp immediately blew his beard and glared, angrily saying, "What did you say?" The huge iron fist hit Luffy's head hard, adding another layer to the pagoda on Luffy's head. Luffy screamed in pain, holding his big bag with a look of grievance. This is because Luffy ate the rubber fruit. If a normal person had received so many punches, he would have been beaten to death. If you ever say you want to become a pirate again, believe it or not, I will break your legs. Garp was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. He really didn't know what kind of ecstasy the red-haired boy gave Luffy to make Luffy so determined to become a pirate. Seeing that his grandfather was so angry that he wanted to punch him twice, Luffy quickly changed the subject and asked, "Grandpa, you have been asking me to target Byakuya for the past month. Is he really that powerful?" When Garp saw that Luffy actually asked about Byakuya's news, he thought that Luffy was interested in Marine, so he smiled and said to Luffy as if he had changed his face. "Byakuya, he's pretty good among the new generation of Marines, but compared to your grandfather, he's just average. As long as you are willing to join Marine and accept your grandfather's special training, I can let you easily transcend the White Knight, and becoming a Marine Fleet Admiral is no longer a dream." Garp said this because he wanted to build up Luffy's confidence and let Luffy know that if he is willing to join Marine, the future will be bright. However, in Luffy's understanding, it is very simple to join the Marine and become the Marine Fleet Admiral, but it is quite difficult to go to sea and become One Piece. Comparing the two, Luffy undoubtedly prefers the challenging latter. Moreover, Luffy's purpose in asking Byakuya was not only to change the topic, but more importantly, he wanted to teach him a lesson if he met Byakuya after going to sea. As Grandpa kept talking about the benefits of joining Marine, Luffy listened in one ear and said to himself, "Humph, Byakuya, right. How many times have I been beaten by Grandpa this month just because of you? Just wait, I will call you all back when I see you after I go to sea." Quote. From Luffy's point of view, although he couldn't beat his grandfather, there was not much difference in the fight. Grandpa said that Bai Ye's strength was only average in front of him. That means Bai Ye's strength should be similar to his own, or even worse than his own. After going to sea, it shouldn't be a problem to beat up Bai Ye. Seeing Luffy's silence, Garp thought that his unremitting efforts had finally changed his grandson's mind, and his mood suddenly improved. If Adjutant Bogart hadn't come to urge him, Garp would have stayed a few more days. Before leaving, Garp patted Luffy on the shoulder and said happily, "Grandpa will be waiting for you at Marine headquarters." Luffy nodded and thought to himself, if I go to sea and become a pirate, it would be reasonable for me to fight at the Marine headquarters in the future, right? When Garp saw Luffy nodding, his smile was almost reaching his ears, he hummed a little tune and got on the boat, not to mention how happy he was. Bogart looked at Garp's happy appearance with some surprise, feeling extremely surprised. In more than 10 years, this was the first time he saw Lieutenant General Garp leaving Windmill Village with a smile. In the past, Garp always looked angry every time he left Windmill Village. Some time ago, the red-haired one of the 4 emperors was scolded every day. "Why are you so happy today?" Even the other soldiers on the ship were deeply puzzled when they saw Garp's appearance. Seeing that Garp was in a good mood, Bogart boldly stepped forward and asked, "Lieutenant General Garp, are you happy? Tell us and we will be happy for you." Garp said happily, "My grandson has promised me to join Marine. When the time comes, I must let that old guy Zephyr know that my grandson is no worse than his apprentice." Watching Garp's dog-headed warship disappear on the sea level, Luffy at the dock danced excitedly and shouted equally happily, "Ha ha ha ha, Grandpa is finally gone, and I am finally liberated." As he said that, he found a small sailboat that had been prepared long ago from the other side of the pier. This is the boat Luffy is going to use to go to sea. After tonight, Luffy will officially become an adult, which means he can go to sea to find the One Piece. Facing the setting sun, Luffy shouted towards the sea, "One Piece, I'm determined." The next day, when Luffy was about to go to sea, many people in Windmill Village came out to say goodbye to Luffy. Among them, the mayor of Windmill Village, Maginot, Dayton and 2 farewell characters who did not appear in the original work. After Luffy said goodbye to them one by one, he jumped on the small sailboat and started sailing towards the unknown sea. When everyone dispersed, the 2 people returned to their room and took out a carefully raised telephone bug from the drawer. He entered the phone number accurately, and after being connected, he said, "Byakuya-sama, Luffy went to sea this morning." "Okay, I know. Then do we still need to stay in Windmill Village? Since you are pretending well, just continue to stay. You can also help solve minor problems in the tavern." After finishing speaking, Bai Ye on the other end of the phone hung up the phone and said with some emotion, "As Luffy goes to sea, the plot of the original novel begins. I just don't know which direction the plot will develop with my own changes. It's really exciting." Quote. In fact, those 2 people were Gui Yi and Gui who were first transformed by Bai Ye using weirdo cells. Because Byakuya was going to join Marine, the 2 of them were asked to change their appearance again, help in the Maginot Tavern, and report to Byakuya in time when Luffy would go to sea. That's why the two disappeared for so long. However, with the strength of the two of them, they are not of much help to Bai Ye now. It is better to continue to stay in Maginot's tavern and help Maginot solve some problems. Of course, Luffy going out to sea is insignificant to the situation of the entire sea. Just like a drop of water dropped into the entire ocean, it cannot make any waves. Without looking at Luffy's background, he is just a nobody. Now, all the eyes of the entire sea are focused on Marine headquarters. Countless people are looking forward to the outcome of this meeting. After all, the world government made concessions, and Marine, represented by Byakuya, won. Or should Marine have no choice but to obey the world government's orders and let the Shichibukai system continue? This is a major event that can affect the situation in the sea. With 2 days left before the meeting started, Bai Ye and Yishao finally arrived at Marine headquarters. There are many Marine Vice Admiral standard warships docked at the Marine headquarters pier, and the Jijiri in the White Knight is extremely conspicuous among them. When Bai Ye got off the ship, he met many Marine Major Generals and Lieutenant Generals. Regardless of whether they were familiar with each other, they all expressed their goodwill to Bai Ye. This is not just because Bai Ye is strong enough, but because Byakuya dared to openly challenge the world government in front of everyone in the sea, demanding the abolition of the Shichibukai system. Lieutenant General Byakuya, don't worry, all of us at Marine will stand behind you in this meeting and support the abolition of the Shichibukai system. That's right, I've long been unhappy with Shichibukai. Why should those pirates be equal to our Marines? Where does this put our Marines' face? Support Lieutenant General Byakuya and abolish the Shichibukai system. This is the attitude of almost all Marine officers. One can imagine how much Marine hates the Shichibukai system. Not long after Bai Ye got off the boat, he saw a handsome little bicycle on the sea, slowly driving towards the Marine headquarters. A long, thin lane of ice was left in the sea. Seeing this, Yishao asked Bai Ye with some surprise, "This is?" Bai Ye stopped and chuckled, "This is Admiral Aokiji's unique sailing method. He is the only one in the entire ocean." Yishao murmured, "General Marine. He is indeed very special.